in here instructions to get her. What the telephone does. Some texting has never been the quality I've gotten to very anymore.
This is a videotape deposition in the matter of Timothy Shea and Lauren Martinez. Today's date is April 30th, 2018. The time is now 9:09 a.m. Will counsel please introduce himself for the record?
Jenny Sullivan on behalf of Lauren Martinez.
Mark O'Mara on behalf of Tim Shea.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good morning, ma'am. State your name
Hi, Lauren Martinez,
and your date of birth
May 26, 1977,
and an address.
2901 Bankery Road, Banchory Road, Winter Park, Florida, 32792.
And how long have you lived there?
A little over a year.
And an address before that?
I believe it's 4008 McGuire Boulevard. I don't recall the apartment number. It was in Promenade Crossing Apartments behind the Fashion Square Mall.
Okay.
And it was Orlando, Florida. I don't remember the zip code either, I'm sorry.
That's fine. How long did you live on McGuire Boulevard?
About a year.
Okay. Going back to Bankery then for a moment.
And then before that, Penway. I'm sorry.
Before that what?
Penway?
Okay. And since we're on it, how long did you live at Penway?
A few months.
Going back to Bankery for a moment.
Uh-huh.
What type of residence is that?
It's a home.
Like house, condo?
It's a house. Mhm.
Bedrooms? How many?
A 4-bedroom, 3 baths.
And how is that property owned? Who owns it?
I own it.
Okay. So you're presently the deed owner of that property, as best you know?
I believe so. I mean, it's a little bit confusing. I don't have all that information with me. Obviously, my parents helped me. It's in my name. I believe I'm the deed owner.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, though. I'd have to look over all that, to be honest.
So do you recall what month you moved into Bankery?
I don't remember the exact month. Trying to think when that was.
You had mentioned a moment ago that you were there for a year. This is
About
almost
a little over a year. I believe it was, it might have been January of 2017 that I moved. I can't remember exactly, but
Okay.
for some reason I believe it was January.
And again, dealing with the ownership for just a moment, it's your understanding today, as best you know, that you're still the deed owner of the property?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I honestly don't know the logistics.
Let's go back to the moment, or the month that you started moving there. How was it purchased, and tell me about that transaction.
Like, I looked at homes and purchased a home with the help of my family, and that's how I got that. I don't know what
Okay.
you're, I'm sorry, I don't know what you want from
That's
me
fine.
with this.
I'll try and get more specific. I'm just trying to get to what your understanding was of the purchase of the home. So, for example, you didn't put any money into it, did you? Or did you?
I mean, I don't understand how mine and my family's finances have to do with any of this.
Yeah. Let me explain to you why I'm asking questions like this. Discovery in Florida is pretty wide open. Discovery is an opportunity to find out more about the case.
Okay.
This is part of discovery. It's a deposition of you sworn and under oath, so that two couple things. One, I can rely that what you say here, you'll say in court, or else I can tell the judge you didn't say the same thing. So it's to document your testimony.
Okay.
But more importantly, it's to find out what we can that might have relevance.
Okay, well, I
There are
understand all
time-
that, I'm just not understanding.
Okay.
I just don't know I don't know the specifics. I didn't look over any of that before coming. I didn't know that was gonna be a thing.
That's
I would
okay.
have had more information for you.
Let's just then go.
When I start working, I'll be paying them a certain amount a month. There's a thing that was written up, but I own it. It was purchased. It was a great deal on a house, and we put some money into it, and that's where I live.
Got it. The question that I asked a couple of questions ago was, did you put any money into it of your personal money, or was it solely purchased by family, parents?
My parents can have control over all my finances and banking accounts. I don't know what they did.
Okay. Let's try it a slightly different way. Back when you purchased that home, or the home was purchased in your name, do you recall putting any money from a personal bank account or from a cashier's check or from savings or anything like that into the home?
I'm not allowed to do that right now. I don't even have checks because my parents have taken over my bank account, taken over all of it. I don't have any money. I'm not working, so obviously I had a lot of help. I don't know how all that worked. I don't.
A review of some
I did not personally write a check. I was there, I signed the paperwork, I have the deed, I have actually I have the file on me. I could probably pull it up if you wanted to do that.
A review of some paperwork that I looked at suggests that the deed was changed to your mom and dad several months ago. Are you aware of that at all?
What do you
That
mean
the,
it was
that the
changed?
ownership went from you out of your name. Are you aware of that at all?
Oh, yeah, I did sign some things. I didn't know that completely changed the name. It was, through Ackerman.
Okay, I wasn't
I
there.
signed some stuff to put everything together, and that might have been part of it.
Tell
I
me what
don't
you,
recall, honestly.
tell me what you know, do you recall about that?
I went and signed a bunch of stuff that,
Let me back you up a bit. Before you went to the attorney's office, or wherever you went to sign this paperwork, what conversations did your dad or your mom have with you about changing the ownership of the home?
that, I don't remember. My dad was telling me that, I don't remember the exact verbiage. Something about how we were talking about different ways to do it, and then I reside there, and I guess we changed the name to him.
Bless you.
I signed everything initially, and then I guess the way that we did it was, I guess, yeah, they put it back. I didn't realize that it was solely in their name, to be honest.
Tell me of the conversations that you had or the purpose of changing it from you to another family member, your dad.
Because I'm not working right now. And I wasn't able to pay the amount that we had agreed upon going into it, which I believe was $1,400 a month. And, so I guess that's why they did it that way. And I put, okay.
Do you recall about how many months ago that transaction happened, now that you remember it?
I went to Ackerman. There was a bunch of stuff we did that day, but yeah, I think that was in January or February.
Well, that of course you mean 18, a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
You just
I
have to
mean,
say yes. or no.
Yes, I mean, I can look at the paperwork and give you an exact date at a later time. I don't have that on me right now.
Any other reason besides the fact that you were not working?
Mm-mm. I'm
Say
not,
yes or
no, I'm sorry, it's hard to.
No, let me tell you what
to
we're
talk
doing.
to you and
That's okay.
answer to her.
Let me tell
I'm
you,
not
it's
used to that.
weird, but let me tell you the way it works. When you say mm-hmm, and you look at me and I see you shaking your head up and down, I know you mean yes or no. And sheep does, and the camera does, but if we take a transcript of it, it won't be able to tell us.
Okay,
So I'm just reminding you, I do it myself, but if I see a hum and I remember, I'm gonna just say yes or no to the camera, okay?
got it, thank you.
So I think the question was, any other reasons that you discussed with your mom or your dad or anybody as to why the deed was transferred back to your dad, other than you weren't working?
No,
Okay. Let's go back then to the date that you purchased Bankery, or it was purchased for you, just for a moment.
Okay.
Where were you working?
at the time when I purchased the home, I was working at Westgate Resorts. I had to remember, like, make sure that that's where I was still working.
How long had you worked there altogether?
17 months, I believe it was.
Do you, do you recall when you started there?
It was January 4th of 2016.
And then when you stopped working?
I don't remember the exact date. I believe it was August 1st of 2017. I cannot be 100% sure that that's the exact date.
And how did you get that job?
Someone had told my parents that that position was coming open, so I submitted my resume, and I came to 2 interviews, and then received a job offer, and accepted it.
Who was it who told your parents that?
I don't remember.
Friend of theirs, or?
Yeah, I believe so.
Before you got the job at Westgate, where were you working?
I worked temporarily at a tile store doing administrative work and sales in South Florida. That was a very temporary job. And then before that, where did I work? I don't remember. Going back how far?
Well, right now, we're talking about, you said that you began working at Westgate at 1/4/16.
In January.
And then I asked you where you're working before that. So let's talk about last quarter of 15, Christmas of 15, Thanksgiving, Halloween. Where were you working?
In 2015, that's when I had gone to South Florida, and I worked the last little bit at the tile place, and I don't remember the name of it.
And what type of work were you doing for them?
Administrative and sales.
How long did you work there?
4 to 6 weeks. I don't remember exactly.
What were you doing in South Florida?
I went to rehab there in 2015 to Hanley at Origins. And then I did sober living.
Staying on the employment, so 4 to 6 weeks at a title,
Tile.
T-I-T-L-E?
No, T-I-L-E.
Oh, tile.
It was
My
like
mistake.
a tile
Got
and
it.
marble, like where you buy this stuff.
Got it.
Sorry.
You said tile. I
Tile
heard
and
it slightly
countertops,
differently.
and like stone and tile.
Fully understand now. Thanks.
And
for
I don't
clearing-
remember the name of it.
Okay. Do you recall what address?
No.
You don't remember how you got there?
Well, I know how I got there in South Florida, but I mean, I don't remember the address, no.
Or that street it's on?
No,
Okay.
I can find it for you, but I don't have that on me.
So, just to again get the time, I want to go back in time a bit on employment.
Okay.
The tile store employment was while you were at Hanley at the Sober Living Center? Is that accurate? The stage of Hanley that allowed you to
Yes.
have a job?
Yes. I wasn't through Hanley though. That's why I'm confused.
Okay.
I was in Hanley of Origins for 2 months. Not 2 months. It was, I can't remember the exact amount of days. It was like 38 days. And then I did sober living through a place called the Sanctuary. And then after that one, I went to, I transferred out to another place. I think it's called Hope and Hope, something, I can't remember the name of it. And it was then and when I started working at the tile place.
Okay, we're gonna come back to the drug treatment in a little bit.
Okay.
And I wanna just sort of stick on employment. So, do you recall when you began treatment at Hanley Origins in 2015? What month?
January 19th.
15.
Yes.
Did you have to quit a job or leave a job to go down to Hanley Origins? Were you working anywhere?
No.
So far, I have you working for about a year and a half, I'm sorry, at Westgate.
Mhm.
And then that started on 1/4/16.
Mhm.
So tell me what other jobs, if any, you had for 2015. What I understand so far is that when you went to Hanley on 1/19 of 15, you weren't working.
No, I volunteered and then worked at the tile place. I volunteered at Habitat for Humanity and then started working.
After, how long were you in South Florida? Well, I'm sorry, let me ask it this way. Where is the Sober Living Center attached to Hanley? I presume is in South Florida.
It's not attached to Hanley at all. It's completely separate.
Did they just refer you there?
Correct.
Do they monitor at all, or are you simply done
I-
with Hanley?
No. Hanley had an aftercare program where they would call you once a week and you would talk to a counselor for, I don't know, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. And you would kind of check in with them. And then also at the, they would send you, if you were not involved in an intensive or an outpatient type program, they would send you to get a urine test. But I was involved in the outpatient program, so they got the tests from the sober living facility.
So you were at Hanley for 38 days, went to Sober
About,
Living.
I don't know if that's the
That's-
exact day,
That's okay.
time. Okay,
For about 38 days. Then you went to Sober Living.
correct,
And then you went to Sanctuary? Is that accurate?
yes.
And the name of this Sober Living place, was it literally Sober Living? Is that the name of it? Or?
No, it's called The Sanctuary.
Okay. So when you say Sober Living, you're speaking of the Sanctuary.
Correct.
And how long were you there?
2 months at that one. And it was very intense. It was like, almost like being inpatient, but not.
Where were you living? Is it on site? Or somewhere
No,
else?
Hanley is in, I don't remember. But this place was in like, oh gosh, I don't remember.
Let me ask you
I'm
this.
not good with addresses, dates and time.
Let me ask it this
The
way.
sanctuary is about 30 minutes away from Hanley of Origins, the
Okay.
facility itself. It's all in South Florida. So it's just in different areas. I think Hanley of Origins is in like the West Palm area. or Palm Beach Garden, West Palm. West Palm is where Hanley is, and then the sanctuary was in the Delray Beach area.
Were you living at the sanctuary?
Correct, yes,
And I think you said you were there for 2 months.
yes,
And after the 2 months at the sanctuary, I think you said you went to a place called Hope and Help?
Help and Hope, or Help, yes.
And describe that place to me.
That's also a sober living facility. It's less intensive, so like there's different forms of sober living. There's more intense and then less intense. So like I phased out of that one and went to the Help and Hope, which allows you to work part-time, or some people stay at the sanctuary for a really long time, but it's $5,000 a month. So if you can phase out, it's a lot cheaper to phase out. And then the other place allows more freedom, like I said, to work part-time, but you still have to go to the groups and an outpatient type of deal. Group therapy and one-on-one therapy.
And did you graduate from sanctuary or just leave to go to Hope and Help?
I got coined out of the sanctuary, yes. They don't really have a graduation. You get coined out and phased out is what they call it.
And is it your testimony then that you successfully completed all the requirements of sanctuary so that they moved you over?
Yes.
Let me finish the question. Moved you over to another place like Hope and Help or whatever the name of it is?
Yes.
And then how long were you at Hope and Help?
I don't remember the exact amount of time. I would probably say a month or two, probably closer to 2 months. 2 months, probably. 2 months. 2.5, actually, I think. I came back in October. I don't really remember.
You're speaking October of 15?
Yes, I was gone from January 19th, 2015, and I came back October, I think it was the 16th of 2016. I think that's what it was. I don't remember. It was around then. It was mid-October.
Of what year?
2016. Wait, hold on. I went to treatment in 2015, from January 2015 to, October 2015. Yeah, and then January of 2016, I believe is when I started working at Westgate Resorts. I think that's the order of events.
Again, we'll come back.
I'm sorry,
It's
I'm
okay.
really
No,
bad with dates and time and
It's just whatever,
directions and,
whatever testimony you have, it's fine.
okay.
We were focusing on employment. It seems as though you worked for Westgate for a while.
Mhm.
You did some work at a tile place.
Mhm.
And again, just to keep track of it, you have to say yes.
Yes, yes.
Before, and I think you testified you were not working when you went down to Hanley the first time. So where were you working before you went to Hanley? You weren't working at the moment you left for Hanley, but what was your job before Hanley? So that would be sometime in
2013, 2014.
around 14.
I was helping to start up and open an intensive outpatient program in Ocala.
And did it have a name?
Resurface recovery.
How long were you employed doing that?
I did that I was doing that for about a year.
Were you earning an income?
Yes.
Where was that funding coming from?
It was umbrellaed under, Orca recovery, which was, mainly for opiate abuse, but they did Suboxone and whatnot, but they didn't have an intensive they had a couple small groups, but they wanted to add an intensive outpatient to it. So it was umbrellaed under that, and I bought into that. So does that make sense? I bought into the company and then helped them start it. So I was in charge of, I wrote the principal and policies manual. I hired the clinical team for that. I was setting it up to be in the guidelines with DCF of Florida and with CARF. So I was working with them to write the principal policies manual and to set up the business accordingly under those policies.
And you were working for Orca?
Technically, I was working for Resurface Recovery. It was, like I said, it was umbrellaed under Orca. It was its own separate business that was umbrellaed under,
And,
if that makes sense.
And Resurface was the one cutting you a paycheck?
Correct,
And how much were you
I
making?
believe. I mean, we set it up so it had its own, account that said Resurface Recovery Centers. So, yeah.
And when you say we, who are you speaking of?
Me and the people that I went into business with at Orca.
Okay, let's identify some names. Who did you go into business with?
Melissa and the name will come to me. I'm so sorry. I have drawn a blank. Should know that.
What is Melissa's last name?
I don't remember right now.
How long did you work with her?
Like a year? Like I should know it. I know. I'm just drawing a complete blank right now. It's all on my phone.
And anybody else that you can recall working with at Resurface?
They were the ones that owned Orca.
And when you say they, just tell me. who you
Melissa
speak.
and her mother. I'm drawing a complete blank, and I'm so sorry. I don't even. Oh God.
Do you recall her mother's name?
That's what I'm trying to think of. It will come to me. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a complete blank right now.
Just explain, you said a moment ago that you bought into it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Explain that.
It was a $15,000 buy-in to be umbrellaed underneath and to start up, and that was to use their client list, so that all their clients that came through there to get medication or to be part of the Orca program had to be also duly enrolled with Resurface Recovery, so that I had an automatic clientele list. That was basically what the buy-in was for.
Anything else besides purchasing the client list?
To be involved with, use we were going to share office space. We were in one building. We were looking to open in a bigger building, a bigger facility, and expand. What else did it include? I don't remember. It included a small handful of things. The clientele list, to use the building that they were using, because we wanted it to be together. We wanted it to be in the same property so that clients didn't have to go all over town. the idea was for it to be like an intensive outpatient unit where they could go and see the doctor on one side, and then the other side was the intensive outpatient going on all day, which held groups and one-on-one therapy.
Did you put any more money into it than the 15,000?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It was a total of 50,000. 15 of it went to the umbrella buy-in, 50 went, the rest of it, 50 minus the 15, that part went to, you know, getting the insurance. I hired a person to help me understand the CARF guidelines and to set it up the way that, so that we could be certified under CARF, which is a very difficult thing to do and quite the process.
Who was that you hired? I'm forgetting all this. It will come to me. I don't remember. You said a moment ago.
It was and also just we had to do a computer system. So it's a weird name, and I can't remember the name of it right now.
You said a moment ago that
It'll
you.
come to me. I don't remember the name that I hired to do that.
You
I
said
blocked all that out. It was a really bad time in my life.
We'll get to that. You said a moment ago that you hired a clinical team. Explain that.
I hired a clinical director, and then they had a couple of people that were certified to run groups under her, and I also went to school for that, so I was going to be getting the certifications needed to run groups as well under her direction.
What's her name?
I don't remember her name.
Does that have even a first name?
I don't remember.
How long did you work with her?
A couple of months. Not even, I don't think.
Where was this? What was the physical location?
Ocala, Florida.
Street?
I don't remember the address.
Where did the money come for the buy-in?
My aunt passed away and left me some money.
What's her
And
name?
I used Margarita. Mosquitoes.
I could try, but why don't you just spell it for me?
ESQUIROS, mosquitoes, I believe is how you spell it. I'd have to write it out to know for sure.
When did she pass away?
I don't remember. It was 2013 or 14.
And how much were you left from her estate?
I don't remember the exact amount.
Was it significantly more than the 50,000 or
It
less?
was about 100,000.
Do you recall when you received that money?
Several months after her passing.
So tell me what happened with the resurface program.
The people that I bought in with had used some of the money that I put in that was supposed to go towards the business to buy a horse and to pay off appliances that they had rented. And around that same time, Mr. Shea moved in to the same townhome complex I was living in. He just showed up one day and said, "I live here." We were at the pool. Showed up one day.
Just so I'm clear, I'm sorry. You're talking about Ocala?
Ocala,
Okay.
Florida. The kids and I were at the pool one day and he walked in and it wasn't his weekend. I was very confused. He said, "I live here now." I said, "Oh, where?" He said, "Here." And it was a townhome basically right across from me. And that was not fun.
So what did that have to do with resurface?
Well, that whole, literally it was in the same week I found out that he moved in, that I found out what they were doing with some of the money. So I had gone to my attorney who I had set up the business to see what I could do about that, because I was rethinking that, because I didn't want to be in a partnership with people that did that without, going behind my back and using money that was supposed to go towards a business to use a significant amount to buy a horse and pay off debt. So I went and spoke with my attorney, and then he had to have a meeting with them, and then they were basically, upset about being called out. And then soon after that is when my opiate abuse started.
So when you speak about people who had used some of this money for horses and appliances, are you speaking of Melissa
Melissa and her mother,
and
correct?
her mother?
Yes.
No luck on the last one
It's
either?
coming. It'll come to me. It will just come randomly.
And your attorney's name? The
At
one
the
dealing
Ted
with...
Schott, SCHATT.
And where does he work?
In Ocala, Florida.
And he assisted, it's gonna sound like I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me. Did he assist you in ending, winding down this business endeavor?
Yes and no.
Tell me what you mean by that.
I didn't get anything back from it because I would have had to go to trial and spend another $15,000 doing that. And it was gonna be a huge deal, and at the time, I was moving back to Orlando, and so I just didn't pursue it. I just walked away from it in the end and lost a lot of money.
Was a lawsuit filed by you?
I did not file a lawsuit. I was going to, and then found out what it was going to cost and what it was going to entail. And like I said, I was in the process of moving to Orlando and whatnot, and decided that it was just too much.
But it's your position that the business ended because of Melissa and her mother's improper use of funds?
That's what started it, correct?
What else was there?
That is it, yes.
Okay.
I mean, yes. And I mean, of course, they tried to claim that I misused the money and this and that, but I had receipts for everything and gave all that to my attorney. Was able to show every dime that I spent, and it went towards that business.
You had mentioned a moment ago that at some point your opiate use started, or I forget the word you used, but where was that in relation to this business failing? Before
It didn't have
started
anything
failing?
to do with my business failing. It happened after that. I lost a lot of money. Tim had moved in. Just everything happened at once, and it was just like this explosion. And I ended up starting an opiate addiction after that. I believe it was like 4 to 6 weeks after all that went down.
Is when what happened?
I started my opiate abuse. be 2014.
So tell me about how that started.
I don't, what would you like to know?
Were you on prescriptions for opiates, or did you just find them on the street, or how did you first get started?
I had been on prescription medication. I'd been rear-ended 3 times that year previous, and had a
I'm
lot
sorry,
of.
I'm going to interrupt you just so we get the years straight.
Oh,
You
God.
just said that you started your opiate abuse in 14.
Yeah,
Is that accurate?
correct.
So tell me about the car accidents and
I
what-
don't remember what year, but I had been rear-ended 3 times in 1 year, and was going to a chiropractor for a year, and was I had taken medication off and on during that time because I had slipped discs and all this and that
Where was the chiropractor?
in Ocala.
Name,
I do not remember.
street,
Don't remember.
years of treatment?
Don't remember exactly. I have no idea. I can't remember if that was in 2013 or 2012. Oh God, what year did my grandmother die? October of 2012, I believe it was. 2012.
And that was when you were going to the chiropractor?
Yeah, until 2013.
And
Actually, I probably went there for a year and a half.
So what doctor first prescribed your opiates?
I don't remember.
For what purpose were you prescribed the opiates?
My back and my neck.
Where were you living when you were first prescribed opiates?
I actually believe I came to Orlando to see someone that my family knew very well. He took x-rays and I believe prescribed me medication, and I don't remember what it was, or I went to see him a couple of times, and then I started doing chiropractic care and trying not to take medication. That was the purpose of me going into the chiropractic care. So I don't believe I don't remember. I was trying not to do that and trying to do it through just chiropractic care. Because medication only does, it's like a Band-Aid. It doesn't, like, it takes the pain away, but then once it wears off, like, it's still there. So I was trying to get to a point where, like, I didn't constantly hurt. And it helped significantly. And I wish I still saw.
And this was 14, correct? 2014?
I was going there from 2000, shortly after the accident, a couple of months after the accident until 2014. Actually, I think I kept going there in 2000 till I moved to Orlando. I think I was still going there once a week, once every couple of weeks. I don't remember exactly. But I was going there for quite some time.
Tell me about the car accident cases that led to that treatment. Split them up. Like, tell me about the first one.
The first one was in October.
Oh, what
I was
year?
coming back from my grandmother's funeral. I believe it was 2012. I believe is the year she passed away. And then between 2012 and 2013, I was rear-ended a total of 3 times. The one in October, I actually went to the hospital because I was crying the whole way home. I guess my blood pressure was up. Ambulance came because it was pretty bad. I was hit really hard. And they made me go to the hospital because my blood pressure was through the roof. I tried to explain to them I just come back from a funeral and I was shaken up, and I had the seatbelt mark and all that. I don't know, it was I guess I was a mess, and they made me go.
What car were you driving?
I was driving a Buick Enclave.
And just so I'm clear, where were you living in October of 2012?
Ocala, Florida, off Mayor Camp. And townhomes that were called Deerwood.
Anybody else in the car with you?
No.
So tell me how that accident happened.
I was at a stoplight and a car behind me, I guess, decided not to stop and slammed right into me going about 30 miles an hour.
Bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Any civil lawsuit, anything like that from that?
I actually did, to get the medical care.
Okay.
I
And-
used an attorney's office in Orlando.
Do you recall the name?
Who did I use? I'm drawing blanks on names today. I used, he's a good friend. I can't. Can I take a break? Is that
I can
okay?
answer this question. Let me restate the question.
It's just asking who
Who
the
the
attorney.
attorney is, I don't remember.
That's,
I'm sorry.
that can be an answer.
That's an answer.
Okay.
Can be an answer for a lot of them, but it can be when
Okay.
you just don't remember.
I don't remember.
Do you want to take a few
Yes,
minutes?
please.
Go ahead. Take a break for a few. All right. Well, there's a few different tracks of questions pending right now, but let's finish up the ones regarding the accidents. October 2012 or thereabouts, coming back from your grandmother's funeral. And there was a lawsuit from that case?
Yes.
And did you have a recovery? Money that you got?
A very small amount, yes.
Do you recall how much?
I believe it was $5,000 to cover my chiropractic care.
Did you remember the attorney's name down here of help?
No, if it comes to me, I'll let you know.
The second, I guess, accident in 2012 or thereabouts? What was that?
Between 2012 and 2013, there were 3. I don't remember the dates of them.
Okay.
The other 2 weren't as bad. It just damage on the car, which I got fixed.
Did you receive any medical care for either of the other 2?
I was already in chiropractic care.
Were those reported to your attorney?
I believe so, yes.
Do you recall about how many months apart they were or how they fit in relation to the October 2012?
I don't remember
Okay.
exactly, no.
Police called
Yes.
on both of them? Let's start with the first one that happened after the one where you went to the hospital.
Police were called. My car was left there. They put it in a parking lot and took me off. So yes, police were called.
Was it also in the enclave?
Yes.
And any lawsuit from that?
From this, oh no, that was from the first one. The first one was the only one with the lawsuit, and police came to all 3.
I'm talking about the second one now. So
Okay.
I asked if the second one, where you, describe the second one for me.
I was the same thing. I had a stop light or a stop sign. I don't remember which. I think it was stop light, and I was rear-ended. I believe all of them happened on Mare Camp Road. I'm not positive though. I can't recall exactly.
And were police called to the second one?
I believe so.
And what happened from that one?
I mean, the usual things that happen after an accident.
Did anyone receive a ticket?
I don't remember.
Did you?
I did not receive a ticket in any of the accidents.
And
no.
was there any lawsuit?
No.
And the third one?
No lawsuit, and I don't know. I'm assuming they got a ticket. I did not.
Was it the enclave in all 3
All 3.
accidents?
Mm-hmm.
Any other injuries or illnesses that led to any use of prescription medication, opiates?
No.
I may have asked you this, bless you. But when were you first prescribed opiates? Was it by a doctor in Orlando that you don't recall his name or her name? I believe that's what you said. I'm
I
just
don't
trying to get caught
remember.
up.
I mean, the very first time ever, or in this time frame that you're asking me
Let's
about?
talk about in the past decade.
I mean, I've had back problems and neck problems. I mean, not. I had a back problem, lower back problem before. That's always given me trouble. But in the last decade, I don't remember the doctor's name. I believe he was from Orlando, and I might have seen someone in Ocala as well. I don't remember.
Do you recall any doctor that you saw in Ocala for prescription opiates?
I don't remember.
Do you know if you did or not?
I don't remember.
At all?
Mm-mm. No.
And let's talk about the doctors who have been treating you then, going backwards in time. Do you have a present treating physician?
I'm a general practitioner,
And who is he or she?
Dr. Martich,
Spell it.
Martich, I believe,
Male or female?
female.
Where is she located?
The Conway, off Conway Road.
How long has she been your GP?
Since 2016 probably.
Are you seeing her for any medical conditions presently?
Yeah, I recently had pneumonia, and I saw her the other week.
When was that?
Can I look in my calendar book to tell you the exact date?
Sure.
Okay. I was sick for a week and wasn't getting better, so I went and saw her. $417. I actually did not see her though. She was not available. I saw Elizabeth Mueling.
And that was about 2 weeks ago?
On the 17th, 417.
Were you prescribed any opiates for that?
No, absolutely not.
Just asking, I wouldn't imagine for
No.
pneumonia, but.
I haven't been prescribed opiates and
So, I interrupted you, sorry.
answer's no. I was
Okay.
not prescribed opiates.
And before this doctor, is it Martich, am I saying it right?
Mm-hmm.
Before this doctor, who was your previous general practitioner or anybody else that you saw?
I had a general practitioner in Ocala. It was a he, but he had females that worked there that I could see as well. And I don't remember his name.
Where was he located?
In Ocala, Florida. Actually, I don't think it was considered Ocala. It was like one of the surrounding areas. It was basically Ocala. Like, you know how Winter Park and Orlando are basically the same? It was the same type of deal. It was basically Ocala, but I don't believe his address said Ocala, Florida.
What years was he your treating physician?
2013 to 2015, I believe.
Any other doctors in Ocala that you saw besides him or other people in his office?
I saw doctors through the Refuge, which is in Ocala. So they had an outpatient program that I was involved in. They had a doctor that I would see once every 2 weeks.
Medical doctor?
Correct, yes.
Do you recall his or her name?
No, I do not.
Any other doctors besides this doctor who was your GP and doctors related to the Refuge while you were in Ocala?
I don't believe so, no.
Before this doctor, when you say he was your doctor from 2013 to 15, did you have another doctor in Ocala before this doctor?
It might have just been 2014 to 2015. It was because I wasn't going to the Refuge anymore. Insurance changed, and I think I was self-pay for after that. And then, so that's why I started going to him, because it was like hundreds of dollars cheaper than seeing the one through the refuge. So I think I actually saw that doctor from 2014 to 2015. And then from 2011 to 2014, I was seeing a doctor through the refuge, I believe. I believe that's the time frame. I'm not 100% sure.
Any other doctors that you've gone to then in the past since 2011, besides doctors at the refuge, Dr. McCallum, whose name you don't recall, and Dr. Mark Tisch?
I'm sorry, did you say in the last decade?
Well, I said 2011 forward.
I saw a doctor through Winter Park Recovery Center.
8 years, or a year.
2015. Only for a couple months.
His or her name?
I don't remember.
Medical doctor?
Yes.
That was pursuant to your recovery treatment at Winter Park Recovery?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of that doctor treating you?
He was treating me for my general anxiety disorder and for opiate addiction.
Anyone else besides those doctors?
I had a doctor at the recovery village that I saw. Inpatient treatment, you automatically have to see the medical doctor.
Where was the recovery village?
It's in Eustis. And every time I was inpatient, which is 3 times at Hanley, the refuge and the recovery village, so I saw a doctor there each time.
Any other doctors?
I don't think so. I think we covered that.
Did you ever get prescriptions under anybody else's name for opiates?
No.
Did you ever have other people get prescriptions for you and then give them to you?
No, my drug of choice is not prescription, like pills. So that wasn't my main opiate addiction.
So is that a no? You've never had
That's
anyone
correct.
else
No,
get it?
I have
Yeah,
not.
Wait. Let me finish the question so that I know you're answering the right one. Is it then your testimony here today that you've not had anyone else get prescription opiates for you and then give them to you
No, I have not done that.
since 2011?
Since ever.
Let's spend some time then on your addiction history. When was the first time you were ever in treatment for any?
2015.
You have to let me finish it, because it may be a little bit more open than what you think
I'm sorry.
asking. That's okay. For any type of addiction problems.
The very first time was 2015.
Okay. And what was that for?
That was for heroin addiction.
Okay. Did you ever go to the refuge back in 2011?
Yes, I went. That was not. That was for alcohol.
Which is why I opened the question.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
didn't. Sorry.
As long as it's cleared up.
Okay.
That's okay.
So you want to know the very first time I went to inpatient treatment?
I would like to know the very.
I thought you were being specific to opiate, which is what
It's okay.
I understood. I apologize.
I would like you to tell me the very first time you were ever treated anywhere for any addiction.
2011 at the refuge.
And what, tell me about that.
Objection form. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
When you say tell me about it,
I'll be more
I'm not quite
specific.
sure what
It's
you
okay.
want to know.
Where were you living before you went to the refuge in 2011?
In Jacksonville, Florida.
With whom?
I was married to Tim Shea.
And you had children with him, correct?
Yes.
And were the children living with both of you in Jacksonville before you went to the refuge?
They were.
What led you to go to the refuge?
I was in a not good marriage, and I was trying to drink my way out of it, basically. And I spoke to my dad, and Mr. Shea had spoken to my family, and I knew I needed to go somewhere to get help.
How much were you drinking?
I was drinking every day at that point.
How much?
I don't know a specific amount.
On average?
A couple bottles of wine.
Per day?
Yes. It was mostly in the evenings.
How long a period of time did that last until you went to the refuge?
Mr. Shea went to rehab in 2010, and he came home, and 2 weeks later, he was back out doing what he was doing before. I was trying to have a clean house, and he brought wine home and said, "I know you miss your wine," and then I was basically, knew that he didn't want to be sober himself, so from then until I went inpatient, I was pretty much drinking every day,
So the question,
every evening.
The question was, how long had you been drinking on average of 2 bottles of wine a day before you went to the refuge?
Probably anywhere from 9 to 11 months.
When you get specific like that, I'm curious how you know it was 9 to 11 months. Was there?
Because he
So-
went to rehab in 2010, I went to rehab in 2011, and it was, I don't remember when I went to the refuge. It was sometime in 2011, and it was after he'd come home, so I'm just assuming it was probably a 9 to 11 month time period between when he went and came home and when I went.
So he came back from a treatment program, and you were drinking. And I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just trying to clear it up in my mind. And you were drinking for about 9 to 11 months before you went into the refuge.
Every day, yes. That's
Correct.
when my alcoholism, that's when it I became a full-blown alcoholic, yes.
And are you still?
I mean, I will always be an addict.
Are you an alcoholic?
I'm an everything egg.
So is that a yes?
Yes.
And just so we're clear, what treatment program did Mr. Shea go into?
He went to, Gentle Path.
And what did you understand it to be for?
It was for sex and amphetamine addiction.
And how long were you in the refuge? Well, I'm sorry. I sort of said this earlier, tell me about the refuge, but tell me what the program was that you were in at the refuge.
I was in an inpatient program.
For how long were you inpatient?
I believe it was 36 to 38 days I was there. I don't remember exactly.
And your treatment then was solely for alcohol?
No, they specialize in trauma, and so I went for alcoholism and trauma.
What trauma did they treat you for?
My horrible marriage.
And they identified that as a trauma that was subject to counseling and treatment at the refuge?
Absolutely, I had PTSD from it.
Were you diagnosed with PTSD?
Yes.
By whom?
The refuge,
By whom at the refuge?
their medical staff.
And that diagnosis was done when during your stay at the refuge?
I don't remember.
Done during inpatient treatment?
Yes.
And what treatment plan do they have to deal with the PTSD?
I did, they had a trauma group, so I did that once a day. And my aftercare also included group therapy and one-on-one therapy.
Okay, anything else?
What do you mean, anything else?
Medications, anything like that specific to the PTSD?
Yeah, I mean, I have generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD, and battered women syndrome.
And, well, as to the first two, as diagnosable events, you were diagnosed with both of those anxiety disorder at the refuge, or did you have the anxiety disorder before?
I had anxiety before.
Let's talk about that then for a moment. When were you first diagnosed with an anxiety disorder?
1995 or 1996, I don't remember.
And where was that?
Actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. I believe it was in high school. I saw Dr. Quinos, Quinos, I believe is who I saw initially.
Where does he or she practice?
Orlando, it's a he. I believe that's his name. I'm not 100% positive.
For Quinones?
And I don't think it was Quino. I called him
Okay.
Dr. Q.
Okay. And do you recall what year?
No.
You said 95 and 96. Was it before?
That was when I was in Tallahassee and saw somebody and saw a psychiatrist.
Okay. As to Dr. Quinos or
He's a
Quinones.
psychiatrist.
Yeah. And can you give me a better timeline as to when you first saw Dr. Q? Let me ask you
Between
this.
1993 and 1995, I don't recall exactly.
And how often did you see him?
I don't remember.
More than once?
Yes.
Did he send you to any type of counseling or other treatment to deal with the anxiety?
No.
What did he do to deal with the anxiety?
He prescribed me a medication.
Do you recall what it was?
I think it might have been Effexor or Bruce Bar. I don't remember.
Are you still on those medications?
No.
Tell me the progression of the use of those medications and when and if you stopped.
Well, sometimes those medications are trial and error, and sometimes they stop working. So they were changed. I've probably been on 3 or 4 anxiety medications. And then it got worse. My anxiety got worse after being married. So that had to change. I saw somebody in Jacksonville for that.
Do you recall who that was? And I'm sorry, let me interrupt, just so we keep a timeline. You started with Dr. Q, who identified an anxiety disorder, and he placed you on one of a couple of different medications, is that
Yes.
correct? Might be Effexor, maybe Bruce Bar. May have changed to others, is that accurate as well?
Yes.
Along the way?
Yes.
How long you were under Dr. Quinones' care regarding the anxiety disorder?
I don't remember.
Months or years?
A year or 2, maybe?
Okay. Then you were in high school when that was first diagnosed?
I actually can't remember if it was it might have been college. I don't remember. I don't remember.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to college at Florida State University in Tallahassee.
You had mentioned a moment ago that you had seen another doctor, a psychiatrist in Tallahassee. Just so we keep it in line, was it Quinones in Orlando, than the psychiatrist in Tallahassee?
I'm actually thinking it was the opposite way. I think I saw someone in Tallahassee and Quinones came after, and I saw him like in the summers when I was home and when I moved back after college. So I apologize. I believe I messed up that timeline. I believe he was after the psychiatrist I saw in Tallahassee.
What were you doing in Tallahassee when you saw the psychiatrist there?
I felt that I had,
Let me ask you a better way, just because I want to get a point. Were you in college?
I was in college.
You had mentioned a moment ago that your anxiety disorder was first diagnosed when you were in high school.
I thought that maybe it was, but I think it was college.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't remember that timeline exactly. That's like so many years ago.
So who is the doctor in Tallahassee?
I don't remember her name.
Was it
It was a female wife and husband team. She was the counselor and he was a psychiatrist. So I'd see him for medication and her for counseling.
were they at all connected to your FSU?
No.
Is it now your testimony or thought, at least, that that was the first time you were diagnosed with anxiety disorder?
I believe so, yes.
And you mentioned earlier that you thought it was Dr. Q who would put you on medications like Effexor and Buspar. Let me just finish. Do you believe it may have been this doctor in Tallahassee who prescribed that or not?
Yes, I believe that's when I first started taking medication for anxiety was college. I got the timeline mixed up. I think Dr. Q was after that when I moved back and I saw him in the summers a couple times and when I moved back to Orlando after college. So I mixed up that timeline, I'm sorry.
And when did you get married?
In 2001.
You also testified a moment ago that you had seen a psychiatrist in Jacksonville. Tell me about that.
I saw him for a while. I was also diagnosed with ADD, so I was taking medication for that and anxiety.
When were you first diagnosed with ADD?
In 1995 or 96.
Were you in high school?
I was in college when I went to the psychiatrist and did the testing.
And they did, I'm sorry, did they then diagnose anxiety disorder and ADD at the same time?
I believe so, yes.
Do you know if you're on separate meds for the ADD?
I was.
What were they?
Adderall.
And I think we got a bit off track, or I lost my thought. You said that you saw a psychiatrist in Jacksonville. Who was that?
I don't remember.
Male or female?
Male.
What years?
I don't remember exactly. It was when I lived in Jacksonville.
What years did you live in Jacksonville?
Let's see. Chicago, 2003, maybe. It's when I lived in Jacksonville. I lived in Jacksonville from 2003, I guess, to 2011.
What was the purpose of seeing that male psychiatrist in Jacksonville?
To continue for medication for the ADD and anxiety.
During the intervening time from 94 or 5, when you were first diagnosed ADD, anxiety, what other medications were you tried with? I'm sorry, were you medicated with?
I don't remember all the names. Like I said, I had to try a couple different ones or switch out when they stopped working, and I don't remember all the names.
Do you have any of that in your journal that you could reference?
No.
Can you recall any of them?
I mean, Effexor, Buspar, I honestly don't remember all the names. It was probably a total of 4 or 5 that I had been on, tried, whatever. I think Wellbutrin might have been one of them.
Were you ever diagnosed with depression,
No,
bipolar disorder?
no.
But they tried you on Wellbutrin? Did you say
Yes.
What medications are you on presently?
I take gabapentin.
Purpose?
That's for anxiety, and it helps with it helps with not craving opiates.
And just so we keep it clear, who's prescribing that?
Dr. Martich.
What else?
Visceral.
E-visceral? Just
Visceral. Visceral, I believe.
What's that for?
Anxiety.
What else?
A Ventolin inhaler as needed for asthma.
That's just, what else?
Trazodone as needed for sleep.
And are these all being prescribed by your same present treating physician?
Yes.
She's fully aware of your addiction history, correct?
Yes.
Has she seen all the records from Refuge and Origins and those places?
I don't know if she requested those or not. I signed a release. I don't know if she has gotten them or looked through them or what have you. But she's aware of it, yes.
Are you on any medications presently for the Adderall? I'm sorry, for the ADD?
No.
When did that stop?
I believe it was when I was in Hanley. No, because Dr. Martich put me back on it when I was working because I was struggling with balancing. It was actually, I took it for a couple of months in 2017 again. From 2015 to 2017 I didn't take it, and then 2017 I took it for a couple of months again when I was working.
And when did she take you off of that?
She didn't, I just stopped taking it. I also can't take that when involved in an outpatient treatment program. Even though I'm prescribed it, I can't take it. They don't allow that medication.
So.
And I've let Dr. Martich know that.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't believe she would prescribe it to me right now because I'm in it. She knows I'm in an IOP.
So you're in the Refuge in 2011, and I think you said you spent 36, 38 days there, whatever, and then you went to outpatient, is that true?
Yes.
With what group?
It was through the Refuge.
How long are you involved with that?
A year? About?
Where were you living at that point?
Ocala, Florida,
Where?
in Deerwood Apartments.
You were inpatient at the Refuge, and then outpatient, obviously you were living separate from the program, correct?
I left the rehab in a U-Haul and moved the day I got out of rehab to Ocala, Florida from Jacksonville, Florida.
When you say the day you got out of rehab, I'm confused. Tell me about that.
When I was discharged from the
From?
Refuge,
Which is
they
in-
were not gonna discharge me unless I had a plan to not go under the same roof as Mr. Shea.
Correct. So then what happened?
So my mom picked me up, we got a U-Haul, I got the children's belongings and my personal belongings, and a couple of family pieces of furniture, and moved to Ocala, Florida.
And you lived at Deerwood
Yes,
with whom?
with my children, with 3 children, Kaylee, Jack, and Lily.
Were you working?
Not at the time.
How were you providing for the kids and yourself?
My family helped me until I could get back on my feet.
After your rehab inpatient, then when was the next time that you worked? And I know that I asked you that, I'm just trying to keep it in.
I was working in, well, I mean, I worked for Pediatrics Medical Group for 3 years when I was living in Jacksonville. I don't remember those dates. And then I worked, after that, I worked for American Home Companions for 3 years.
Where was that?
That was in Jacksonville. And then I had to quit that job to move to Ocala.
And my question was, after you left inpatient refuge, where was the next time that you worked?
I worked, I believe it was 6 months after that, I began working as a paralegal.
Where?
Schott and Hesser.
And that's the Shaw who represented you?
That's how I knew about him, yes. He does property and business law.
The intensive outpatient program, I think you said we were in there for several months, but how long did you stay in the intensive outpatient program?
With which one?
Refuge?
About a year. Maybe a little more than a year, actually. There's different phases.
And specifically, what was the outpatient treatment program to deal with? What type of addictions?
I was doing that for several reasons. For
Which were
addiction and for recovery from my marriage.
addiction to what?
To alcohol?
Anything else?
No.
So the refuge wasn't treating you for any other type of addictions except alcohol on the outpatient side of it?
Correct.
So what town were you living in when you first started using opiates as an addiction?
Ocala, Florida,
And what year?
2014.
When did you get divorced?
I began the process in 2010, but I didn't push it through until 2011. And then I believe everything was signed off on in 2013. I don't remember, I don't know if that's the exact date. It was about then. I think we went to mediation for the first time in 2013, but I don't recall exactly.
Did you do, what type of treatment did you do after you left the intensive outpatient program at Refuge?
I did one-on-one counseling.
With whom?
It was through the refuge.
After you left the intensive outpatient?
I mean, I didn't really leave it. I continued to do outpatient until I didn't have insurance anymore.
And tell me about losing insurance, how did that happen?
We were paying for Cobra for Mr. Shea and for the children and for myself to have extended medical care at the time.
Okay. And what happened to it?
I don't remember exactly. I don't remember.
So is the reason why you stopped doing the intensive outpatient program at the refuge was because you didn't have any more insurance?
I believe so, yeah, I think that's how, yeah, yes,
Did
I
you,
think so.
did you graduate from the program? Is it something where you coin out, or did you just stop?
They didn't have a coin out. I finished the outpatient program as far as the groups and whatnot go. And then you can opt to do the counseling for as long as you want or can. And that's what I was doing once I completed the intensive outpatient program. It's intensive outpatient, then it's outpatient, and then you go to one-on-one. That's how things go.
And you did all of that through the refuge on the first program go around in 2011?
Yes.
When was the next time you had any type of treatment for any addictions?
2015.
And what was that?
I think I went to detox for 3 days at the refuge for that. I don't remember exactly. I think I did the refuge detox, but I wasn't gonna go inpatient. I was just gonna do their detox program.
And tell me
'Cause
what
I didn't have insurance.
and tell me what behavior led to that.
I was using heroin and I wanted to stop.
So when did you start using heroin?
In 2014.
That was the first time?
Yes.
And I think you testified to this already, but pills are not your opiate addiction of choice, is that correct?
Yes.
Heroin is?
Yes.
And did you ever abuse pills? Opiates through pill form?
I'm sure that I did.
Well, tell me about that.
I don't know exactly.
Before the heroin use?
I probably took more than was prescribed when I had my back injuries.
Tell me how that happened.
I don't know what you want to know.
Well, if you took more than necessary, how did you get the prescriptions? Or the pills?
I went to my doctor.
And did you ever get pills off the street?
Mm-mm. No, I didn't.
Let me open that up. Ever since, have you ever, in the past decade, purchased opiate pills on the street? And you know what I mean by on the street, right? Non-prescription.
Yeah, illegally. No, I haven't.
Have you ever traded anything for pills?
No.
So heroin use first time in 2014, when did that begin? How did it start?
I had just lost a lot of money. The business that I thought I was setting up to get into that career that I was really excited about and put in a lot of work in, my heart and soul into, went down. Mr. Shea moved basically across from me and was harassing me every day. And I had a friend who had gone to the refuge for opiate abuse, and I got it through her.
And who's that?
Angie Quinches,
I'm sorry, last name?
KeunTjes.
That's the woman that you ended up living with, right?
Yes.
You met her at the refuge?
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead and tell me. I thought you said that she was at the refuge for opiate abuse. Is that accurate?
Several years before me.
Okay. And how did the two of you first meet?
We met through people that I knew in recovery. About a year after I moved to Ocala.
And was it she who got you started on heroin?
I got myself started on heroin.
Well, you
I
mentioned,
made the choice to do it.
of course, but when we started talking about your first heroin use, you mentioned Angie. What was the connection?
She knew people that sold it. She was from Ocala.
And she was a heroin user as well?
Yes.
Were you living with, when did you begin living with Angie? I'm just not gonna be able to stop the, pronounce the last name for me?
Quinchess.
Quinchess?
Quinchess.
Got it, thanks.
Like a chess game, like
Got it
like
now.
five playing chess.
No, I will never forget it.
All right.
When did you first start living with Miss Quinchess?
I don't remember the exact year. I don't. 2000. The end of 2013, maybe. Middle or end of 2013 or 2014. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay. Before you started using heroin, correct?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And she was actively using when you guys moved in together, wasn't she?
No.
She was not?
No.
When did she start using again?
I don't think she was until we both did. I think we started at the same time. If she was doing anything before that, I don't know about it.
Okay.
Can't speak for her.
But you were living with her?
Yes.
And, I mean, it was a couple relationship, right? It wasn't just roommate?
Yes, I was dating her.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
So you knew what she was doing, she knew what you were doing most days or weeks?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me how the two of you got to the point where you just decided her to re-abuse heroin and you to start for the first time. Is that an accurate depiction of what happened?
Pretty much.
Okay, tell me how that happened.
It was just a series of events. It was really a bad time. She was going to be part of the business as well. She was going to be working there as a tech. And she was going to be certified as an addiction counselor. She was going to get her CAP. So when everything just kind of exploded, and then, like I said, Mr. Shea moved in around the same time that happened. It was a series of events that was extremely stressful, and I handled it the wrong way and did something I didn't ever think I would do.
And it's your testimony that Mr. Shea's moving to Ocala preceded your heroin use?
Yes.
Or was it after it?
I began using after he moved there.
And tell me how the heroin use progressed from 2014. How long were you?
From 2014 until I went in January 19th of 2015.
Okay. You mentioned a moment ago that you went into the dry out program, intensive, I forget what you called it.
It was called Detox.
Detox, sorry. Tell me about that.
I was using heroin. I wanted to stop, so I went to the refuge for detox. They have a detox program there.
Okay. How long did you stay?
3 days.
And were you released, or did you just leave?
No, I left after 3 days.
Okay. Against medical advice?
Probably.
Did they tell you to stay?
They tried to get me to stay. Well, I knew like one of the head people that worked there, because I had been involved in their outpatient program, and so I knew her well, and so she came to me crying, just saying she really wanted me to stay, and she wanted me to do their inpatient as well.
And why'd you not listen to her?
well, one, I didn't have insurance at the time. And two, I guess I wasn't done yet.
Well, how much of it was the lack of insurance and how much was it that you still wanted to use heroin?
Probably 70% wanted to still use, and the rest was I didn't have insurance and felt guilty about being there.
Did you ever ask your mom and dad for help in going back into the refuge inpatient in 2014?
No.
They had helped you and covered the 2011 costs, though, didn't they?
Yes, and I had insurance at the time, which really helped.
Right, but they covered what wasn't covered, correct?
Yes.
They were taking care of all your bills at Deerwood and basically supporting you, right?
In 2011, yes.
Right. And as you needed it in 2012 before you were working, and
Yes.
and when you needed help in 2012, 13, and 14.
Well, I was working, and I got yes.
Did they give you any of the money for the buy-in program for the rehab?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Did they ever infuse any money into the program themselves that
No.
you're aware of? Just the $50,000 from your aunt?
Yes.
And were they supplementing your expenses and needs while you were trying to get that program started?
Well, I had some of the other money too, and they kind of had control over it and used that. We used that towards my living expenses and the kids' tuition and all of that. I wasn't getting child support, alimony. I was supposed to get. I paid off when the house went in foreclosure. Paid that off. Paid the loan off that we got on the house when
And
Mr.
how
Shea
did you
lost his
drop
job.
it?
I paid for that.
I'm not trying to joke. Tell me what house you're talking about.
The home in Jacksonville.
Okay. When was it that you allowed your family to take over your finances? Was that 2011?
Yeah, yes, pretty much. They helped with that, and that's when that started.
And to this day, they still take care of that?
They help with that, yes.
You don't have any checks, you don't have access to the account, do you?
I mean, I have a debit card, but it's put in there as needed.
Okay. So they take care of all the finances? Is that accurate?
Yes, right now.
I think you just started a long time ago in the beginning of the deposition saying that I'm just...
Well, I was also working, and when I had a job, obviously, I would pay for everything that I could, and they would help as needed. And now I don't have a job, so they're helping me, obviously.
Focusing on the drug treatment for a bit longer, when you went into the refuge, was it solely for heroin abuse, or were there other substances that you're being treated for?
There's a thing that addicts do. Yeah, yes.
I understand that when you have an addiction history, anything will do sometimes. So this is not to curse you or to do anything else, but find out some of the harsh realities of what was happening in 2014. So what else were you being treated for at the refuge besides opiates or
I didn't
heroin?
get treated at the refuge for opiates, except for in detox. That was solely for heroin. When I went in, I told them that I drank a lot so I could get more medication to detox. They give, like if you were on both, they give you better, which really helped with the detox from heroin. I hadn't been drinking, but said that I was, so that I could have an easier detox, basically.
So in effect, you fabricated an alcohol abuse add-on to try and get better meds? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Did you ever tell me you were on crack cocaine or abused crack?
No.
So if any records from the refuge suggest cocaine or crack cocaine abuse, would that be accurate or inaccurate?
I don't know what's on the records. I had done cocaine like once or twice before that. I mean,
How
before
soon?
going in.
Okay.
Years before.
Years before.
Yeah.
Did you self-report crack cocaine use or, let me finish the question. Crack cocaine use or powder cocaine or any other form of cocaine use when you went in for the detox?
I don't remember.
Could you have?
I've never smoked crack, I can tell you that. I
Question.
didn't really do cocaine, that wasn't my thing. I don't think I would have said that, but I don't recall.
When you left the refuge after the 72 hours or 3 days, what else did you do to address the heroin abuse?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that
Sure.
question?
You went into detox for 3 days in 2014, correct?
Yes.
And left, correct?
Yes.
Some of the reasons were insurance, maybe 30%, and you just don't want to use 70% or thereabouts.
Correct.
Did you do anything else to try and address that issue
When I left,
after the detox? Or you just keep using?
I kept using.
Okay. So never tried any other treatment programs? Until I know we're going to get to the next one that we do know about.
It's exhausting.
I'm just wondering, I'm not trying to confuse you, I'm just trying to, what we try and do sometimes is segment out times, whether it's where you lived, or where you
Understand.
worked, or where you got treatment. So you were in treatment for those 72 hours left, and I'm wondering what other treatment, if any, you got. It sounds like nothing, but I'm just giving you the opportunity to tell me.
I used for a while, and then it wasn't until I sought help through the Winter Park Recovery Center.
And we'll get to that. So back in 2014, when you were using heroin, where were the kids?
They stayed with Tim during that time.
The whole time you were using?
No, when I went to detox
No.
for the 3 days.
Okay, I'm speaking about when you started using heroin.
Yes.
You had the kids with you, right?
I didn't use with the kids with me, but I had custody of the children, yes.
Explain that to me.
When you say explain that to you, what specifically do you want to know?
How was it that you were able to affirmatively not use whenever you didn't want to use?
When they were in school, I would, and I did it in my car. I would go get it, do it in the car, come home.
Okay. So if they're in school, you would shoot up heroin on
Yes.
occasion
Yes,
in your car or wherever else.
in the car,
The
mainly.
kid, but you sort of had, I mean, they were in school, but they were with you, right?
Not when I didn't actively use in front of them, or when they were at home with
Okay.
me.
How could you plan to not have the effects of the heroin on by the time they get out of school at 3 or 4 o'clock?
I would usually go in the morning after dropping them off at school.
Okay. When you say
And
go,
then sometimes I would go at night when they would be in bed.
and when you say go where?
Go to purchase heroin.
Okay. Did you have a particular supplier or more than one?
I had a particular supplier.
Who was it?
Can I say that?
Sort of have to.
His name was Tab.
TAB?
Mm-hmm.
You have a full name?
No, I don't.
How do you have a phone number for him?
No, not anymore.
Okay. How did you come to find him?
Through Angie.
So before you went to rehab, before you went to detox, those months leading up to it, how often were you using it? Every day?
Every day, yes.
How many times a day,
I don't,
on average?
I mean, it's an expensive habit, so, I mean, 1 to 3 times a day.
Okay. And how are you paying for it?
Cash?
I know that they don't take credit cards yet. So where were you getting the cash from?
I used a lot of the inheritance that I got on that, basically the rest of it.
Okay, so one source would have been the inheritance.
Mhm.
So if we looked at whatever business records or banking records might exist, they would show withdrawals from that account?
Yes,
And can we presume that at least some, if not most of those withdrawals were for heroin?
yes.
And what other sources do you have besides the inheritance?
That's pretty much it. I mean,
Were you working in 14?
I had just stopped working and doing the resurface recovery centers. So I had some money from that, and then
What do you mean you had money from that?
I got paid for that, remember?
No, I do recall, and I asked you if you were getting a salary, and then you sort of went off and talking about the 15,000 and 35,000, and that all that money was taken by Melissa and her mother.
I still got a salary. There were checks that we had and an account we made up for that, and we got paid from that.
Okay. Was that pay coming out of the initial $50,000?
Yes, that was part of paying the employees for their efforts in getting that up and going.
Were there any other infusions of cash or capital into resurface other than that $50,000 from you?
I don't remember exactly.
Did Melissa and her mother put any money in?
I honestly don't remember all of that.
Who handled the books?
Melissa and I did.
What was your salary?
I don't remember what I got paid during that time.
Oh, about how much?
I honestly don't know. I do not remember. I'd have to look that up.
And was Angie working?
She worked for Orca, so she was paid through Orca.
And she had not yet gotten her counselor certification, though, had she?
No, she wasn't doing that kind of work at the time. She was doing their marketing and their events and whatnot.
Were you using heroin the whole time from when you left detox until you went into Wood Park Recovery Center?
Yes, I believe so.
At about the same rate that we just talked about every day, 1 to 3 times a day?
Correct, yes.
Do you recall when you went into Wood Park Recovery?
2015.
I'm sorry?
2015.
What, do you remember the day?
No, I believe it might have been October or November.
Of 15?
Yes. I'm not positive.
And did you go inpatient or outpatient?
It's an outpatient program.
You were actively using when you went to them?
Yes. They do a Suboxone treatment to get you off the heroin, and then you go to their group. It's an intensive outpatient program where you're in groups.
Did anyone at Wood Park Recovery suggest that you go inpatient?
Yes.
Who?
Their clinical staff.
All of them?
I don't know. I just spoke to my counselor that I worked with there, and I believe she was the one that suggested it.
The clinical staff recommended, they do a recommendation as they review your file, don't they? Well, you may not know that.
I
so
don't
I'll
know
just-
that.
Yeah, I think I'm chatting away for a while. Let's take another few minute break. we were talking about your decision to go into Winter Park Recovery Center.
Okay.
And not to go over territory we spent a lot of time on, but you acknowledge that you were using heroin almost all of 2014. Is that accurate?
I don't believe it was all. I mean, it might have been. I don't recall exactly. I don't know if it was the entire year or
I don't want you to use my words as being a foundation. Just tell me what you remember it being. But previously, it's in the middle of 2014, it seems, you went into the detox. When I asked you about that, you had been using for months before that. Is that accurate?
I began using like 4 to 6 weeks after everything went down with the business and with Tim moving there. And then it was the majority probably of 2014. I just don't recall the exact dates.
And then you continued using after the detox?
Yes.
Until when?
Until I started going to the Winter Park Recovery Center.
Yeah. Tell me what led you there.
I wanted to stop using heroin, so I told my family what I was doing and told them that I wanted help. And so they got me involved in the Winter Park Recovery Center. That's how that happened.
And what did you tell Winter Park Recovery Center was what you were abusing?
Heroin.
Anything else?
No.
Did you tell them that you were abusing crack cocaine?
No.
Okay. Did you,
I don't think so.
well, could you have?
I mean, I wasn't using cocaine, so
Would there be any reason why you would have told them you were using cocaine or crack cocaine that wasn't true?
like I said, when you go into programs and you're trying to get off of heroin as an addict, I have a tendency to say I'm on more so that I'll be given more medication to have an easier detox.
Okay.
So I don't recall what I said, but my only thing that I was on and the only thing I tested positive for was heroin, I believe.
Were you drinking as well during the time leading up to going into Winter Park Recovery?
No,
Nothing at all?
no.
Okay. And what did you tell them as far as your active use when you went into Winter Park Recovery?
I mean, I went there specifically for heroin abuse, to get on Suboxone. I don't remember what all I said because, like I said, I didn't want to have a hard detox, and sometimes transferring from heroin to Suboxone can be turbulent. So to get a higher dose of the Suboxone, I might have said that I did more than what I actually did, but I only was doing heroin.
Did you tell them how many days you were using heroin?
I'm sure that I did on intake.
And what did you tell them?
I don't remember specifically what I said on intake day. I don't remember. Don't recall.
Okay. Was there a traumatic event with the heroin, like an overdose or anything, that led you to go to Winter Park?
No. No.
Nothing? Just decided to go to Winter Park Recovery?
Yeah, I told my parents I needed help, and that's where I went. I mean, I had overdosed a couple times, but I mean,
Let's talk about the overdoses. When did they happen?
I don't remember.
What year?
Don't remember. Probably 2014.
Both in 2014?
I've overdosed a handful of times.
How many times? Well, let's back up. Let's define what you mean by overdose.
Okay.
What do you mean by overdose?
I fall out and my heart stops. I turn blue.
Die. Sort of. And when your heart stops, you're done, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And that happened when you say a handful of times. Half a dozen? How were they all in 2014 or just over the whole period of heroin abuse?
Over my whole abuse history.
So how do you come back from that? I mean,
I use with people
That
that know
day.
how to do the chest rub and the Heimlich. I mean, not the Heimlich, the basic CPR and the sternum rub gets the heart going. But I told I was always using I always had a using buddy, and I would tell them to do the sternum rub and CPR and not to call because the Narcan puts you right into precipitated withdrawal.
and you don't want that as an addict, correct?
No, I'd rather
Because
die.
that literally is a traumatic convincing of your body that heroin's bad. Is that sort of accurate?
I know heroin's bad. My body knows it's bad.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Well, why don't you like Narcan?
Nobody likes Narcan as an addict.
Why don't you?
I specifically don't like it because I know what it does to people. I've never had it done to me. I know what it does to others.
What do you know it to do?
It puts you into precipitated withdrawal.
And what do you know that to mean?
You wake up really sick.
Alive, but really sick.
Alive, but really sick.
Okay. So as a heroin addict, is it the intent of you to get as close to that point, to use as much heroin, to get as close to that point where your heart stops but not letting it stop?
No.
What's the point?
To get high.
How high?
Objection.
How high? No, you can answer it.
I mean, I don't know what you mean. I mean, just to get the high off of it. Unfortunately, you don't ever know what you're buying or what's being mixed with it. So it's a 50-50 chance. Every time I injected, I knew I had a 50-50 chance of overdosing. I mean, it's a horrible, scary addiction. It's not a good way to live.
And for those half dozen or so times that you overdosed, was it ever gotten to the point where law enforcement was called?
No.
Have you ever called law enforcement when somebody else has overdosed?
No.
Never called when Jay Bolus overdosed?
He didn't overdose. He had fallen asleep and I couldn't wake him up and it scared me. And so I called one time, but it wasn't from an overdose.
Well, you guys were using heroin that day, right?
I don't know if we were or not, or I don't remember
Wasn't that
all
during
that.
a period of time where you were using every day?
When I used with Jay, at first it was not every day.
I'm going to interrupt you and back up a little bit. Tell me who Jay Bolus is.
Jay Bolos was who I dated, and from 2015 until 2018,
So
2017,
would about 2 years be right?
2.5,
2.5 years?
a little less than 2.5. I'm sorry.
Okay. When did you stop dating him?
November of 2017.
So 6 months ago, thereabouts? Just being
Yes.
April.
6 or 7 months ago. Yeah.
And before that, for those 2.5 years, or just less than 2.5 years before that, were you living together
Yes.
the whole time?
No, I met him when I was in South Florida and he had an apartment and I was in sober living.
Did you meet him because he was in treatment as well?
I met him through recovery, yes.
Was he in treatment as well?
He had been at the time when I met him. He was doing I think he had completed his outpatient and he was living in an apartment and working as an electrician.
Okay, so then the two of you moved up to Orlando together?
That's correct.
And what house did you move into?
We moved
home.
into an apartment,
Which one was that?
McGuire Boulevard,
Okay. How long did you guys live there together?
about a year, McGuire Boulevard.
How long after you guys came back up to Orlando did you, individually, did you start using heroin again?
Well, I had pretty much 2.5 years sober when I started using,
From when
Okay.
to when?
2015 to 2017.
Okay. And when did Jay Bolas started using again?
We both started using for a week, I believe it was in June or July,
Of what year?
2017.
So less than a year ago.
Yes.
And you just started using for a week. Explain that to me.
We used for a week and we didn't want to go down that road again. And so I went to my parents and he went to his parents and we told them that we wanted to do a detox. So we went to a 5-day detox.
Where was that?
Sunrise Detox
Where's that located?
in Orlando.
Whereabouts?
I don't recall, I'm sorry.
What years did you, sorry, what months did you go there? It was
I
5
went
days
there for I believe it was 5 days, either June or July, I don't recall.
of 17.
I think it was July. I'm not positive.
And I think I just asked you this, and I just apologize. Where is that located? And you said Orlando, whereabouts?
I'm not sure. I don't recall.
How did you get there?
Jay drove.
Okay. Do you recall what streets you went on?
No.
How about when you left? Who picked you up?
Jay. We drove there and left there in his car.
Okay, but you don't recall where in town it is? What side of town?
I think we took I don't remember. I'm sorry.
You do recall calling the cops and telling them that you thought Jay was overdosing, correct?
I don't remember what I said.
Okay, well,
I think I just said he was not responsive and I couldn't wake him up. I don't remember what I said
and why did you call the cops?
because he wasn't responding or waking up. He was breathing, but I couldn't get him to wake up, and he was making
And
weird
did the
noises.
cops show up?
An ambulance showed up, and then by then he was up and walking around and fine. He woke up and he's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I think he had taken Xanax, but I don't remember specifically. And he also, I think he helped somebody move or something that day and had worked in the sun as well and was exhausted. And so that didn't help the situation. I don't remember what I said on the phone.
And as you sit here today, you don't know when you went to Sunrise Detox?
I believe it was June or July.
Okay. And this event where you called the police on Jay, was that before or after detox?
I don't remember.
Think back. Had you been to detox?
I
since you
think
were-
it was after that because we relapsed again a couple months later. I believe it was in November.
So according to your testimony, you had a relapse of a week in June or July of 17, correct?
Yes,
And then there was this phone call, whenever that may have been,
yes,
and then you detoxed, then you relapsed again?
yes.
When was that?
In November was for a few 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4, I don't know.
So when you say that you relapsed back in July, was that right back up to 1 to 3 times a day? As far as your
No,
usage?
no, it was probably like once a day.
And of course, the kids were living with you, right?
Yes. 50-50 custody.
Were you aware of the conditions that you were on to maintain time with your children? What the court order required you to do and not do?
I don't remember specifically, no.
Tell me what you do recall about what the court order.
Obviously not to use heroin.
Okay. Do you recall the court order saying that?
I don't remember what the court order said.
Do you recall what sanctions would be imposed by the court order if you were to reoffend using heroin?
No,
Have you looked at it yet?
not since I first got it. I mean, that was years ago.
Never looked at it?
Yeah, I looked at it after I got it. And I had like 2.5 years sober.
But as you
So I
said,
didn't anticipate it being a problem.
yet it became one,
Yet
correct?
it became one.
And do you have any idea what the court order suggests would happen if you reused or used again?
I believe it was the kids were supposed to go with Tim.
Okay. You understand that's what brings us all here today, right? Is the fact of the reuse and what type of contact you should have with the kids.
I'm well aware, yes.
Do you believe there's anything in the court order that suggests that you should have unsupervised contact today?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Do you believe that there's anything in this court order or any other court order that would suggest that you should have unsupervised contact with the kids today?
I don't know.
Do you have any insight, or are you relying on anything to support contention that you should have unsupervised contact today?
I'm involved in an IOP program. I'm
Okay.
doing well. And my goal is long-term sobriety. And I'm doing a lot of things different this time. And I'll continue going to the IOP, as long as I can.
So you went to, well, we sort of jumped forward, so let me just be clear about something. You went to Winter Park Recovery back in 15?
Yes.
And did you do, how long were you involved in Winter Park Recovery?
Maybe 2 to 3 months. I don't remember exactly.
And then why'd you leave?
Because I needed inpatient treatment.
Okay. And that's when you went down to what used to be Hanley, is now called, I think.
Hanley of Origins.
Right, Origins. Okay. And why did you determine that you needed inpatient? Is that another relapse?
I was just struggling. I just didn't, the Suboxone was making me really sick. And
Did you have another relapse?
it wasn't about a relapse. It was about, I knew that the Suboxone thing wasn't gonna work.
When you went to Origins, had you relapsed? And used heroin again?
I believe I continued using heroin off and on the whole time I was at the Winter Park Recovery Center, intermittently with the Suboxone.
Okay.
And that's why I went inpatient, because I knew the Suboxone wasn't going to work.
Okay. So even though you were active in Winter Park Recovery Center's outpatient program and were on Suboxone, you were still using heroin
Yes.
consistently?
No.
Tell me what that means.
I would take Suboxone for a couple of days, and I would not take it, then I would use, and I would take the Suboxone again. Then I would try to not do heroin for a couple of days, and then do heroin.
Okay. That sort of cycle is what led you to Origins?
Yes,
Okay. And that was, do you recall when?
2015.
Okay. And how long were you down there? And I apologize, I know I asked you
7
that
to 8
already.
months.
17 months?
No, 7 to 8 months.
And what did that include? That included inpatient to begin with, correct?
Yes.
How long?
36 to 38 days.
And then the outpatient that we talked about, sort of started this a couple hours ago with that
I did
treatment.
the sober living, I
Mhm.
did intensive outpatient, and went through all that. And
Mhm.
then I continued to do the Hanley program by phone and was involved with that when I moved to Orlando still.
Did you move in with Jay Bolos when you got up here, or were you living with him down there?
I lived with him down there for, I think, a month before I moved to Orlando.
Was that in a halfway house, or was that in an
Oh, no,
apartment?
he had an apartment. He was
Okay.
working as a plumber.
Okay, so then you're up here, and that's, where were you working when you came back up here?
Westgate Resorts.
What type of work were you doing there?
I was the foundation and community affairs manager.
What does that mean?
There was a team of 4 of us that managed the 3 foundations that Westgate has.
What foundations are those?
The Victoria's Voice Foundation, and that was basically what I was hired. Originally, I was we had a foundation for that, which, you know, we had an account. And the original plan was for me to network and help people in the community to get the help they needed for opiate and substance abuse. And then there is the Westgate Foundation, which gives money back into the communities, specifically for their focus is education, helping military their transition from military to private sector, I guess you call it, getting a job and helping veterans get jobs. And so like we give money back to places like iDignity, community, the hunger program, Gift for Teaching and stuff like that. That's what Westgate Foundation does. They give back to organizations in the community that are helping people with certain specific needs. And then we had the David Siegel, I think it was called David Siegel, or Siegel Foundation, was it? And he gave, that foundation was for employees that needed help, like if they had a death in the family and needed to travel to Puerto Rico or where have you, then they couldn't afford the flights, then we would help them with that. If we had someone who had been sick or had cancer and needed treatment, we'd help them with paying a bill. So that foundation was to give back to the employees.
What happened with that job?
Mr. Siegel decided to focus on legislative needs for the opiate and for the opiate epidemic, and so he is using that now to have people go to Tallahassee and DC to do basically the legal aspect of.
So did you quit, or were you let go or fired?
They eliminated the position. He completely decided to do something totally different. And so
Well,
it was
Victoria's
called
Voice
a position elimination.
did. Okay.
It no longer exists in their company.
Victoria's Voice still exists, right?
Yes, but they're using that for something
And
completely
the Siegel
different.
Foundation still exists, though, right?
Yes.
And when was that? When was your last day working there? Or last month?
I think it was August 1st,
Of,
2017.
that was at or right around the time of at least one of the relapses,
Yeah,
correct?
I knew it was coming to an end because I was going to work and there was nothing for me to do because I couldn't network and do the things that I was hired to do because
wasn't doing that anymore. So I was helping basically with the other two foundations and doing like, helping the other two that were basically doing the other things. I was just helping them out.
Where is Jay Bolos now?
In New York, Staten Island.
And stay in touch with him?
I do actually.
What's he doing up there?
He's doing an outpatient program up there. And the last I spoke to him, he was doing a security guard job. I'm not sure.
You know the name of the program?
I do not.
Objection.
How long's he been in
Objection.
I'm not sure. I believe since he moved back.
it? Which was when?
I don't remember the exact date.
A month?
I think it was in November 2017. Yes, it was in November, well before Thanksgiving.
So let's now talk about the last, we've talked about your treatment program ending somewhere around, I think, end of 2015 in Delray, correct?
Yes.
And then, did you do any type of aftercare, any additional recovery care in 2016?
I completed the outpatient programs that I was involved in Delray, and then I moved here. I was going to a place there called Life Skills.
In Delray?
Yes, that was the outpatient program I was involved in. I completed their outpatient program. I completed the sanctuary, coined out of the sanctuary. The Help and Hope didn't have a coin out or a completion, because they don't do that when you step down.
Did you do anything here in 2016?
Other than meetings, no, I
Well,
didn't.
what meetings?
Recovery meetings, NA and AA.
Okay. And tell me of your attendance at those, how frequently?
I went more frequently when I wasn't working in the beginning when I first moved here. And then when I started working, I was probably going on average 3 times a week.
So when did you then relapse again? Since, or in 2016 or 17?
It was 2017. The first time was June or July for a week, I don't recall which. The second time was in November.
No time, no relapse in 16?
No,
Any problems with Jay where the police were also called on Jay Bolos at all in 16 that you recall?
yes, he got in a fight with his cousin.
Tell me about that.
His cousin, we went to New York to visit his family, and his cousin was going to be moving to South Florida and was going to be staying with Jay, and I was living there at the time, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and Jay said he worked it out with Jay and his parents that he could stay there until he got, on his feet in South Florida.
I'm sorry. Jay worked out with his parents that the cousin could stay there? Okay, go ahead.
And then the cousin ended up getting wasted on the way down, and Jay didn't want him in the apartment and told him that he needed to get a hotel room because we were sober and trying to maintain sobriety, and I think he took some pills too, I don't know what.
He, meaning who?
The cousin.
Okay.
And Jay said that he couldn't have that in his house, and his cousin, he thought, wasn't gonna be doing that. His cousin's not an addict, but he parties, and Jay said it was the understanding that that wasn't gonna be happening if he lived with Jay, and the first night there he did, and so Jay wouldn't let him in the apartment and told him to get a hotel, and a fight ensued, and the neighbors called the cops.
And what happened with that?
I was trying to break it up and got involved, and they took Jay to jail that night. His cousin took off in the car and ended up staying in a hotel, took off in his car and stayed in a hotel room, basically like hid, and blamed everything on Jay and said all kinds of crazy stuff, I don't know what. And that was, and then his cousin left the next day. His dad paid for him to get on a flight and leave the next day after he stayed in the hotel, so he didn't ever come to the apartment.
Did you give a statement to the police?
I believe I did. I don't.
Did it
It
match
was a
what
long
you
time ago.
just told me here today?
They had thought that he had hit me because I had blood on me because Jay had hit his hand and it was bleeding. He punched, well, before he and his cousin got in a fight, he punched something. I wasn't there.
Do me a favor, when you go through the heat, we're not gonna know who it is until you tell me Jay or, what was the
Okay,
cousin's
Jay,
name?
his name's Buddha. I don't know. I forget his real name.
Okay, so who hit something with his hand?
Jay punched something with his hand and it was bleeding profusely and there was blood everywhere. And when I was trying to break it up, I ended up getting covered in blood. And they thought that he had hit me because the cousin had taken off. And so I was telling them that he didn't. Like, they were trying to get me to sign something saying that he hit me, and I wouldn't sign it because that's not what happened. And they made like this huge thing about thinking that he hit me. I was trying to break it up. I probably got hit in the process of breaking it up, but not on purpose. I don't remember. But I ended up with blood all over me because his hand was bleeding, and so they initially thought that that was what happened. And so then he went to jail for battery for his cousin because his cousin, I mean, he beat the crap out of him, so.
But the cousin wasn't even there when the cops came.
I don't remember how all that, I think the cousin was there for like a little bit, and then when they were talking to Jay, like he took off in the car or something, and they had to go talk to him and find him. I don't remember exactly how all that, it was a ridiculous night.
Let's talk about when you went in, again, very recently, the one at the end of this year. Tell me about what led to that treatment in the end of 17.
I had the relapse in November, and so I enrolled in the New Bridge program, the outpatient program. I was there from like 9:30 to 3 p.m. all day, every day. Well, those times every day in groups. And the weekend was coming up. I had been doing that for a couple weeks and was doing pretty good. And the weekend was coming up and I was in group and I just raised my hand and said, I'm not gonna make it through the weekend. I think I'm gonna use, and I believe I should go inpatient. And so I called and worked it out and went to, oh, well, first, I'm sorry, in November, I went to the detox program at TRV. I went to detox there and then enrolled in the New Bridge program. I went to detox there for 5 or 6 days. And then,
Let me just back up a little bit. TOV as in Victor, like the Recovery Village?
yes, I'm sorry,
And you went
yes.
there,
And Eustace.
and you went there and used this voluntarily
Yes, my mother drove me. I was
for how many
messed
days?
up. I think it was 5 or 6 day detox. I don't remember exactly.
And where are the kids?
With Tim and my mom and my dad, my parents.
Did you tell Tim you were going into recovery treatment again?
I did not.
Why not?
I didn't feel it was necessary to tell them.
Okay. Just going back in time, had you ever advised Tim of previous inpatient treatment programs?
I don't think so.
So you did the TRV up in Eustis, or Umatilla, I think it is?
Yes.
And,
Oh, you're right. It is in Umatilla. I'm sorry.
not much of a
Umatilla,
difference.
you're right, I apologize,
There's
yes.
really no difference.
It's right now, I know, I'm sorry,
How dare you,
it's,
Mark.
it's
I'm
in the
sorry.
backwoods.
Never lived in either spot. I've driven through.
No offense if you're
Never noticed a difference. So you were up there for 5 days, and then what happened? What happened up there?
I went to detox
Okay.
and,
When you went
When-
when you went to TRV, did you tell them that you had been using?
I went in high.
Okay.
I
So-
think because I knew I was going to detox, I used before going in.
I mean, when your mom drove you up there.
I
you-
knew I was, and then I was like, well, I'm going to detox, so I might as well use.
So in that time then, right before you went to TRV, how long had you been using?
I don't know, like, I think I used the day before and the day of when I knew I was going in. No, I don't remember exactly.
Could have been as much as a couple of weeks.
I was involved with the Newbridge, so I was trying, I think it was off and on, but I know that it
When
was
you
like,
say it was off and on, you mean your heroin use?
yes, but I know that I went in high. Coming down, really.
Okay, so you detoxed, and what did they do for you or with you? Back on Suboxone or no?
No, I did a Subutex step down.
Who made-
Suboxone does not, it makes me so sick. So Subutex works much better. So I did Subutex at both the Sunrise Detox and at the Recovery Village Detox.
Okay. And then after the 5-day detox, what happened?
I did the intake at Newbridge Recovery Center and did their program for a week or two. And then, like I said, the weekend was coming up and I didn't feel like I was gonna make it through the weekend. So I raised my hand and said I need to go inpatient in the middle group.
That made you backwards, so I'm confused. Let's back up a little bit. My understanding is that you were in Newbridge
Mhm.
doing their outpatient. Is that correct? Yes, it's not.
When, before
You
going,
were in Newbridge
before, okay, I went to the Recovery Village twice. One time for their detox program,
for 5 days.
5 or 6 days.
Okay.
After that, I got enrolled in the Newbridge program. And then I knew that I couldn't stay sober. I knew that I was struggling. I knew I needed to go to inpatient. So I went to the Recovery Village inpatient after being at Newbridge for a short time. And then I re-enrolled in Newbridge the day after I got out of the 2-week inpatient program and did their outpatient program, which is what I'm involved in now.
Okay. And you did tell them that you were using, right?
Tell who?
Detox second time. Or, I'm sorry, TRV second time.
Yes, I mean, I went in high. Again, if I know I'm going to rehab, I'm not gonna go in sober. I'm sorry, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest.
That's the best way to do this. It seems as though you told Newbridge what I believe was the second time in that you had used 3 bags taking your boyfriend to the airport. Is that accurate?
I overdosed the day that I did intake.
Okay,
He had to revive me. That's my last memory with Jay.
okay.
I
You
was
took-
dead for about 3 minutes.
Did he tell you how he revived you? How? You guys ever use adrenaline? So just the sternum rubs and things like that. You take a couple minutes.
The sternum rub and CPR, the breathing.
All right. And that was, did you drop him off at the airport? Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
he drove there. I was coming back alive.
Mhm.
And then I drove right from there to Newbridge, and they kept me there for all day because I went in there half dead.
So then you did the Newbridge, I'm sorry. So the second time in Newbridge, you just said they sort of kept you there all day. Did you not go back into inpatient treatment after the overdose on the way to the airport?
I'm trying, I don't really remember, I don't remember. I did the intake at Newbridge. I was there a couple weeks, and then I went inpatient to the recovery village.
Who is treating you now?
Well, I'm at Newbridge, and then I see my general practitioner.
And what is the GP doing for you?
She prescribes the medications that the recovery village suggested that I be on.
And that's what you testified to earlier, correct?
The gabapentin, Visceral, Trazodone, and another. There was some other thing that they had put me on initially that I'm not taking. I didn't really think it worked, and it gave me weird dreams, and I can't remember the name.
Newbridge suggested that you go inpatient again, didn't they?
No, I voluntarily raised my hand in the middle of group one day and told them I wanted to go inpatient, so they supported that decision and then worked with the recovery village so that insurance would pay for it because I was having trouble getting insurance to pay for it. So I don't know what they had to do to make sure that I could get the insurance to cover it because my parents are pretty much over it.
And just so I'm clear, when you went to the recovery village, that was just the 5-day detox, is that correct? Or did you then
No,
do an
an
inpatient program after that?
I did the detox program for 5 or 6 days. I left and I came back a couple weeks later to voluntarily do their inpatient program.
And how long were you with the recovery village second go around for the voluntary inpatient program?
I think it was 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks.
And why'd you leave?
That's what they had suggested I go in for, and that's what they discharged me after 2 weeks.
So TRD discharged you successful completion
Yes,
and back to Newbridge?
correct. The day after I did another intake at Newbridge and started their OP. Basically, I did inpatient IOP at the recovery village, and now I'm doing outpatient through the Newbridge. It's an insurance thing. You have to call it certain things to be able to get them to cover it. It was a huge pain. And I work with case management inside the recovery village to work with insurance to get it paid for. I'm not sure what they said or did to make that happen.
And what's your present treatment program with Newbridge? How often do you see and who do you see?
In the beginning, I was there, like I said, from 9:30 to 3, and then you step down to 3 days a week, groups from 9:30 to 11:30, and then you have a once a week one-on-one. And that now I'm phasing out to where I go, I'm looking for a part-time job, and I'm going there, I'll be going there twice a week, once for my one-on-one, and then I'm gonna be going twice to provide, urine samples, observed urine sample.
How often do you keep in touch with Jason Boas?
I've talked to him 3 times, 4 times
Since when?
since he moved there. It's very amicable.
Very what?
Amicable, it was a very amicable separation.
And who are you dating now?
Anthony Swarovski,
Where'd you meet him?
I met him through the recovery group in the Umatilla and Eustis area.
What was his drug of choice?
Am I allowed to speak for somebody else?
Unfortunately,
Is that-
he's living with
is that-
you, so.
He's
Let
not
me
living
advise-
with me.
Hold on. Or I could let you ask me to let me advise my client. Yeah, on this question you can answer. Contact with Teresa. This has been around the company.
Okay, Opanas and Xanax.
And are the two of you living together?
No,
Have you in the past?
no.
Not at all. Where does he live?
He lives in, off Winter Park Road in Castleberry.
What does he do for a living?
He was working at Valvoline, and now he works at Steak and Shake because they give him more hours and better pay. And he will be joining the Army shortly. He's meeting with them on Monday.
We spent a bunch of time going over your addiction history. Is there anything that you feel we didn't get right or you want to add to an explanation concerning what we just spent a couple hours talking about? Anything that I didn't ask you that you think you'd like to get into, specific to the addiction history?
I just wanna make sure that you have, like I went inpatient 3 times, and then I did the 2 outpatient recovery programs. And I did the detox 3 times, so I just wanna make sure that that's all clear. And I completed all the programs. The only one I left was the first one at detox at the refuge for 3 days. That's the only one I did not complete.
Okay. Anything else? You're not bound by it, I'm just offering.
I think we were pretty thorough on that.
Okay. So your mom and dad are financially supporting you, correct?
Yes.
Paying all of your bills right now? You don't have any income of your own, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so whatever you spend comes from your mom and dad?
Yes.
And they also take care of any additional costs for recovery?
Yes, right now I don't have insurance, so they're helping me with the New Bridge recovery payment.
We did have a concern or question that was raised about insurance, so since you've raised it, let's spend a moment on that. In 2017, let's talk about the first half, let's say, I'm trying to get just the baseline period. What coverage existed for the children and then for you individually?
I've had kid care for the children
Since when?
for several years. I don't remember, like, I've gotten them the state medical care since I lived in Ocala. It started in Ocala. Started getting it there. And then when I moved, I had to do the reapplication and all that. So then I guess, I've had it a pretty long time.
You stated a while ago that you had not been receiving any child support or alimony from Tim Shea. Is that correct?
Over a 3 or 4 year time period, I got $2,800 total.
When was that?
Not all at once though. It was like, it was supposed to be $800 to $900 a month, and I think that happened once or twice. And then I would get it in like $20 here, $80 there, over 3 to 4 years.
What 3 to 4 year period?
2011 to 2015.
And how about since 2015?
Well, actually, when I first left, I didn't get anything because Mr. Shea wasn't working for a long time.
I'm just trying to find out what happened since 2011 to 2015.
I didn't get any.
Here's what I'm asking. Since you seem to say for that period of time up to 2011, I got this much. I'm just curious what you've gotten, if anything, from 2015 forward.
Nothing.
Okay.
And really, it didn't start until 2013. I got a little bit, and then 2014 I got a little bit, and 2015 I think was the last time I got anything.
So in the past several years then, to the extent that you couldn't afford coverage or whatever for the children, did your mom and dad help out?
I got
Or,
kid care for free in Ocala.
okay.
And then when I got it here, I was working, so I couldn't get the completely free kind. I got the lower rate, which is $21.50 a month for all 3 kids.
And how
'Cause
long?
when you work, you can't get the full free stuff. But
And how-
it's $21.50 is completely affordable.
And how long have you had that level of care? When did it start? And
When I moved here, I reapplied for it when I moved to Orlando in 2015 when I came back. Actually, no, before that, in 2014, I moved to Orlando and had it. Then when I went to rehab at Hanley, it wasn't taken care of, so I had to reapply for it when I came back in 2015 or 2016. It started up again.
Okay. So since 2016, or whenever it last started up again, what happened with it, or does it still exist?
No, recently I called to make my payment. I believe it was in April, and it said
18?
2008,
That's
just
this
a couple
month.
months ago, yeah.
This
Last
is it.
month.
Okay.
No, we're in
Still.
April.
barely.
So it was, I'm sorry, it was in March.
Okay.
You pay for the month ahead, so I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. So like when I pay for February, when I pay in February, it's for March. When I pay in March, it's
So what happened when you
So
tried to
it was
pay?
either February or March. I called to make the payment and it said that I owed $680. So I called them and asked why it was so much, because I usually pay the $21.50. I do it on my phone, no big deal. And they said that my coverage had been terminated. And I asked them why, and I couldn't get an exact answer. And I called again another time, and they said that my employment had changed and I needed to reapply. And so I thought that was because DCF was involved and I was trying to get the kids counseling through that, and I guess I don't know what had happened. And then I called again when my son hurt his foot, and I was trying to understand, because I know that I paid for temporary coverage so they'd have it from April 1st to April 30th. And so I paid $20 to have them have that temporary coverage while we figured it out. And then when I called again and I was trying to get an answer as to what was going on and why it had been dropped, they said that Mr. Shea had sent in paperwork claiming that my parental rights were being terminated and he had full custody of all 3 children, and sent in the injunction paperwork, and so they had to terminate it because I didn't have custody of the kids and it was under my name. And if I don't have custody, then I can't have coverage for them. And so that's why they had terminated the policy. And so now I have to, if I wanna reapply, I have to send them all the paperwork in showing the injunction was dropped and whatnot. I still don't understand what exactly they need from me. I'm trying to still work to figure that out, but they said that Mr. Shea had put it under his name. And so I'm trying to figure out what in the world happened.
So do you understand whether or not the kids have or do not have coverage presently?
They're supposed to have coverage from April 1st to April 30th with the temporary thing that I worked out with them when I was trying to figure out what's going on. And I paid for that. It was $20. Since I wasn't working, I just had to pay the $20. And then I have to reapply since I'm unemployed for the other kind because it's supposed to change when your employment changes.
Do you have any plans for working?
I'm beginning to apply for part-time work.
Where?
I don't know where I'm gonna work yet.
Have you made any applications anywhere? In the
I have,
past
I've
3
been-
months?
I mean, I just started like last week, getting the applications from different places.
Like where?
I prefer not to tell you because Mr. Shea likes to call my places of employment and let them know they're hiring a heroin addict. So I would like him to not call the places I'm telling you and tell them that not to hire a heroin addict,
Are
if you
you
don't mind.
actively seeking employment right now?
I just started getting the applications and
As of-
started looking online to see which ones I want to do and where I want to apply.
As of
So I have
when?
not submitted anything yet.
Okay.
So I started last week trying to think what I would like to do for part-time work.
And when you say part-time, what do you mean by that?
Well, it depends on where I work and what they consider part-time. Some places consider part-time, you know, depending on where it is, I mean, 30 to 35 hours a week.
Why are you
20
only
to-
seeking part-time employment?
Because that's what's suggested by my counselor,
And who's that?
Samantha
Samantha,
Carver,
how long have you been seeing her?
since I started at Newbridge.
Okay, about 5 months, 4 months?
As soon as I started at Newbridge, I started seeing her once a week in addition to the groups.
Okay, she's connected with Newbridge?
Yes, she works for Newbridge, with Newbridge.
Do you see any counselors separate and apart from Ms. Carver or anybody else at Newbridge?
I mean, I did the groups, the different counselors take turns doing the groups.
Unconnected to Newbridge?
No.
Well, we're on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
go
did
ahead.
see a doctor at one point, an addiction specialist, and I don't remember his name. I only went there twice, and he wanted me to take a type of Suboxone for many months to come. I didn't want to go. I don't want to go that route.
Where was he located?
In Winter Park. I don't remember his name.
Address?
I don't remember.
How long ago did you go see him?
It was around the time when I first started at Newbridge, those first couple weeks, I
And
believe.
Was that a recommendation from Newbridge?
No.
How'd you get to him?
My parents had gotten his name from a friend of theirs and they had highly recommended him. And so they just wanted me to see what options were out there in addition to Newbridge to see if it would help in addition to. But I don't want to be on that kind of medication.
So he suggested a Suboxone treatment program and you said no. Is that accurate?
I was gonna try it, he convinced me to try it, and then I was like, I don't wanna do that. Like, anything that I have to detox from, I don't wanna do.
So he suggested a Suboxone treatment and you said maybe and then no. Is that accurate?
I said yes and then no.
Okay. Are any of the children seeing counselors?
Yes, I have Kaylee in counseling right now.
Who is she seeing?
Abby, let me spell her last name for you. Wirick. Would you like her phone number?
Yes.
407-522-9919.
Previous to today, had you told Tim Shea that Kaylee's seeing Abby Wirick for counseling?
No, I just put her in counseling. Tim and I do not communicate. I don't know when he takes the kids out of town. I don't know what he does. I haven't seen Jack or Lily in months, except for, well, the other day I went to Jack's baseball game. I got to see them. It was wonderful, but yeah, I haven't had them in my home. I mean, you know, like, it's not, we don't communicate.
How long?
I don't know what he does, and he doesn't tell me what he does with them, and
How long has Kaylee been in counseling with Abby Wirick?
she's seen her, I believe, 3 times,
For what?
because
I could tell.
life
part of it.
is, I mean, it's not been an easy road for them.
What is Kaylee seeing Abby Wirick for? What was the purpose of the counseling?
Because I think that everything that we've gone through, she needs to be in counseling. I mean, basically, Tim has separated her from the siblings and treats her different, and it's had a huge effect on her life, and the events, you know, that, you know, my use and my going away has had an effect on her. The marriage, she was the oldest child, so she remembers a lot from the marriage that was not good. And I think counseling's a good idea for all the children.
How old is Kaylee?
She's 16.
And the marriage ended in 2000 and...
Well, I mean, I left and moved in 2011. I kicked him out a couple times before that, from 2009 to 2011 when I left. When I went to rehab for the first time, I couldn't leave the children with him. My parents and his sister took care of them.
So you said that part of what Kaylee is dealing with is that Tim had separated her from the others or treated her differently?
There's many things. I mean, it hasn't been an easy road for all of us. I mean,
What concerns do you have right now with Kaylee?
I just want her to be happy and okay.
What concerns do you have? For example, is she cutting school and not going to school? Is she smoking pot? Is she stealing? Is she hanging out at night? Is she defiant? Is she depressed? What concerns do you have about Kaylee?
Mostly like depression, and just either being sad or angry quite frequently. And she's a really good kid. She's very serious about school. She wants to, I mean, she's doing great. She's a 3.5 average. She does not skip school unless she's sick or something. She doesn't smoke pot. She hasn't been doing anything. I'm very proud of her because I know that a lot of her friends and kids do that. And I mean, we have a good relationship, and she's a really good kid. And I know she's struggling with, you know, always worrying about the next shoe dropping.
Before Abby Wirick, was she in counseling with anybody else?
Tanya something or other. My phone is broken, so I can't look any of this up. They were in counseling with a lady named Tanya.
They, who's that include?
The 3 children were.
What period of time was Tanya counseling with them?
I don't remember. It was
About?
recently. It was in 2017.
For how many months or weeks?
I don't remember. It was $80 per kid per session, $85. And I couldn't continue to afford that, and I was trying to get the kids to do something that was in network, and Tim said that my insurance sucked and he wanted to use her, and she's actually really good. It's just unfortunate I couldn't continue. It wasn't sustainable for me to continue to help pay for that.
So you don't know how long they were seeing Tanya?
It was a couple of months.
And did you say that Tim was involved in that decision or was aware of it? Or did I misinterpret what you just said about insurance?
Tim found her and started sending them there.
Okay. Anybody else that Kaylee has seen besides Abby and Tonya? Tonya?
She was in House of Hope for a while and received counseling there.
How long was she in there?
She was in there in 2015 to 2016,
About how long?
about a year.
Why?
She and Tim were not getting along. She was running away. She was, at the time, probably she was smoking pot and cigarettes and not doing the right thing. And she still went to school, but I think she skipped quite a bit. This is when I was in South Florida, and I was always getting frantic phone calls and her in tears. And when I was in South Florida, I could come and visit when I was in the sober living facility, so I would come every time that I could, like every other weekend or like once a week at least. So, and I would stay at my parents' house. And so it came to a point where she needed some serious counseling and help. She was, you know, so Tim and I went to House of Hope and met with the director and got her involved in House of Hope, and she was there for about a year.
Just a heads up, it's 12:35 and I have a very hard stop at 1. I have to be.
No, I got you. Yeah, I knew it was over at 1. I'll get to a break point in a few minutes and we'll just end it and we'll come back.
Come back, my God, what else do you
Who
need to
knows?
know?
You know, you got lawyers come up with questions about anything. But I'm trying to move it forward. There's just a lot to go over. So let's at least get to a breaking point. So how much, you mentioned that it's because Tim and she were not getting along. How much of Kaylee's concerns do you think are related to a relationship with Tim? And how much do you think they're related to the fact that she has a heroin addicted mom?
I think 50-50.
Okay.
I mean, I think you'd have to ask her.
Mhm.
I mean, to be honest, but if,
Probably best
from my
to speak for her.
standpoint, I think it's probably 50-50.
Okay. Same concerns with the other children, their need for counseling?
Absolutely.
And you think you carry about 50% of the blame for that?
Yeah, I mean, I own my part. I know it hasn't been easy and it's been scary for them. And it hasn't been an easy road. So but I mean, there's a lot of issues on the other end too that, so. Yeah, absolutely, I own my part. Like, I know I haven't made it easy for them, made it scary. I mean, who wants to have a heroin addict mom? Nobody.
Who's Todd Christensen?
A friend, like, we grew up knowing the Christensen family,
Mm-hmm.
and Todd was in Newbridge for a while.
When you were there?
Yes.
So were you guys connected at Newbridge?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
We actually started the same day, and I was like, oh, hey, like, we knew that our families knew each other. And, that's, I mean,
Okay. Still hang with them outside of Newbridge as well?
actually not recently because he's starting, I think, to use again.
And,
So I have kept my distance.
well, when
We've gone to meetings and stuff, but that's the only place that I'll meet him at now. Like, sometimes we would go bowling or play pool or whatever, but he's not maintaining sobriety, so I haven't been hanging out with him as of lately.
What do you understand your conditions of sobriety to be?
Well, to abstain from everything,
Including what?
any mind-altering substances.
Does that include alcohol and pot and pills?
Yes,
All of them?
yes,
Okay. So you consider it a condition of your continued sobriety to be free from pot, pills, heroin, and alcohol?
yes, but I don't really care about all that. Like, once I started doing heroin, that's all I wanted. So if I have a craving, it's for heroin, not anything else.
Is it a condition of your continued program at Newbridge that you abstain from all drugs, including pot, pills?
All mind-altering substances.
And that includes alcohol?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you drink alcohol presently?
no.
When was the last time you had any alcohol?
I went to play pool with Todd and he had a beer and I had a couple sips of it. And I was like, I don't miss that, so.
That was one time?
Yes,
When was that?
I don't remember when that was.
How long ago?
That's when I kind of stopped hanging out with him, probably like a month ago. I don't recall exactly.
And it's your testimony that you had a couple of sips of somebody else's beer?
Yes,
That's all?
yes,
No drinks yourself?
no.
When, for those times that you were living here and using, who was the default person that you had to take care of the children? Was that your parents? Who would take care of them when you were high?
What do you mean?
So
I
if
would
you
get high
had,
when they were like at school or like late at night,
okay,
and I would use in my car.
right. But who would be the default person that you would have take care of them if you couldn't?
Well, I had 50-50 custody, so most of my usage was when I didn't have them. And
So-
when Kaylee was at school.
So are you saying that you had that much control over your heroin addiction that you could stop using for 2 or 3 days at a time and
I'm
not
not
have a
saying
problem?
that I didn't use for 2 or 3
Okay.
days. When I use every day.
Okay. So you used when you had the kids with you?
We had 50-50 custody, yes.
Right, so some of the time they were with Tim primarily.
The high
And-
doesn't last that long, unfortunately. So, I mean, I'd use, like I said, in the morning and then late at night.
Okay. I started the question by asking if you had anyone who was the default caregiver for the kids when you couldn't. Was it your mother?
Yes, my parents.
Okay. How aware is your mother of your heroin addiction? Like, you know, or conversations?
They know, they've been involved in all of it. I mean, she took me to TRV for the detox. I mean, she's seen me at my worst, supported me at my best.
And with that, when you say she, obviously your mom, is your dad fully aware of it as well?
Yes, they've been very involved in all of it.
Do you know what conversation, they share with you what conversations they've had with Tim over the past year, let's say, about your heroin addiction?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Have they shared with you any conversations that they've had with Tim about your heroin addiction?
No, we don't really talk about him.
Well, he's the father of the children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And has to be there to care for the children at least half the time, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you never talk to your mom and dad about any communication to the father of the children about your heroin relapses and addiction?
I know that there was an email or a conversation that my dad had with them. I don't know what was said. I don't know, I'm not privy to the specific emails that went back and forth between he and my parents. No, I'm not. I have no idea what, if I didn't, I don't know how many there are. I mean, I don't know.
Who is Hugo Morganot? You may know him as Juice.
Oh, that's who I mean, that's someone I used to buy heroin from back in 2014.
When was the last time you offered him?
I think 2014, 2015, maybe 2015 was the last time. I'm sorry, I might have bought from him right before I went to South Florida.
Did you ever get a prescription for any, I think you answered this, I just wanted to be specific. Did you ever get a prescription for any medications, any opiates from any doctors in the past 6 months?
No.
Ever visited a doctor up in Tavares, a pain management clinic?
Not to my knowledge.
In December, about 6 months ago.
Not,
Late
no.
Kennedy.
I mean, I haven't gone to anyone for pain management. I
Okay.
don't-
Kaylee just had a medical procedure, right?
She had a cyst on the tailbone of her rear end, correct?
Okay, that was dealt with, I
Yeah,
guess.
she also had an upper respiratory infection at the same time.
Okay.
She was a mess.
Mm-hmm. And she was given pain meds for that?
Yes, she was given 12, I think it was generic Lortab. I don't remember.
Okay.
I'd have to look. Was it Tramadol? I don't remember, I'm sorry. I'd have to look at the prescription bottle.
Okay. And you went to pick them up?
Yes. Mhm. I picked up all of her prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
She got a cream, she got an antibiotic, she got 12 of the whatevers, and then
And who has them now?
they're at the house, on the kitchen counter.
Okay. This event that led to the injunction has now been dismissed. You were driving Jay Bolus's car, correct?
Are you talking about
Yeah,
the
the-
injunction incident?
Yeah.
It was in January, I believe. Yes, I was driving his car.
Okay, where is that now?
It's in Staten Island with Jay.
When did it go up there?
I think he came down and got it in February.
And how long did he stay?
He flew down, he took an Uber to where, I took his car to, it needed tires. I took his car so he could drive it back. I took it to Jean's Auto in Winter Park, and they did the tires and whatever and made sure that it could drive back to New York. So he flew down, took an Uber to Jean's, and then I had dropped the dog off at the place that we have them care for the dog, which is D-Looks, which is in Baldwin Park area. And so he got his car and then went and picked up the dog and then drove back, started driving back then. And I believe he stayed in the hotel that night and then drove the rest of the way the next day.
And what car are you driving now?
I have the Ford Fusion.
Who's Marcus Hicks?
Well, at first he was somebody that I knew that I helped out. Well, I didn't know him as Marcus Hicks,
Marcus,
first of all.
Mark, right.
I knew, he introduced himself as Petey. That's how I knew him.
Okay.
And, I had helped him out a couple times, just like, I was, he was talking about like trying to get connected with jobs, the program in Orlando. So anyway, but he also ended up selling heroin.
Right.
So I started getting that from him.
How long ago was the last time?
The last time I got it from him was, I met him in like 2015, and I didn't talk to him for a long time, and then that's who I got it from when I started using again with Jay.
And is that in
And then-
17?
But then, I stopped getting it from him because it was a pain, and, found somebody else that was closer and a lot easier.
So would you pay him on occasion by renting cars for him?
No,
You ever rent a car and then let him drive it around?
yeah, my car was actually in the shop, so I was renting a car. And I put $20 in the console and asked him to please return it for me. And I should have asked somebody else because he ended up taking it and committing felonies in it. And I tried to get a hold of him and he blocked me from everything and went on this crazy thing that I never thought he would do.
Within the heroin trade.
It wasn't a trade, it was
Hold
never
on,
a trade.
Just middle of a sentence. Within the heroin trade, are you aware that sometimes users who don't have money available will rent cars on a credit card and then let the drug dealer use them? Have you ever heard of that?
Objection. Go ahead. You ever heard of that?
I didn't until that happened. I didn't know that was a thing until it happened to me.
Who told you it was a thing?
The detectives,
What did they tell you?
that to never let someone like that use her car because it comes back in your name. And so I had to learn the hard way.
So is your testimony then that that was the only time that you rented a vehicle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on, just gotta finish the question. You're doing so good, and this is my next to last
I'm
question.
sorry, I'm so tired.
That's okay.
It's exhausting.
So it's your testimony that the only time that you rented a car and let somebody else use it was that one time with Peavy or Mark Brown or Marcus? Or were there others?
Yeah, no, that was the only time I've ever let anyone use a rental car or my car or any car, like.
In the past 2 years.
It wasn't that I let him use it either. He was supposed to return it for me. I paid him to return it for me
Why not just do that yourself?
because I was going into detox and I needed someone to return the car.
Well, had you gotten your car back from the shop yet?
No,
Then
I don't think so. I asked him to return. I don't know if I picked up my car before I went or after I got out. I don't remember. That was when I went to Sunrise.
Nonetheless, that was the only time that you've ever rented a car and let your name and let somebody else
Yes,
use it.
I had to
In the
learn.
past, let's say 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good place to stop. I don't know if it'll be transcribed before we get back to it. It might be, so to the extent that it might be, Jenny knows this, you have a right to review it.
We'll read.
So I'll let Jenny know if we're gonna get a copy of it and she can bring it in or whatever to look at it. You can't change the substantive of your answers, you just get to make sure that she's taking down correctly what you said. So if you get the time, we will abate it, or whatever you call it, can't think right now, we'll reschedule the rest.
Thank you.